Hello and welcome to Spurs Kings TV. It is Monday night and your new home for Ashmatic Analysis. Ash, you well?
I'm blessed, brother. Just coming out from that cold. I think it's pretty much done. So, but yeah, other than that, chilling, man. Enjoying the festive period. And we're here to talk all things Spurs, of course.
The bad bit before we all start enjoying the festive period, yeah?
Oh, man. It's always someone going to ruin our Christmas, but it is what it is. We're used to it by now. We should be used to it.
Of course. But let's get straight into it because there's so many guests to bring on tonight and there's so many people. But let's bring on Mr. Regular himself who loves to cause us trouble. Already well.
I'm good.
All good.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Crimbo. Merry
Yeah.
Crimbo.
Actually making me hungry. Eating
might.
that chicken. Some wings. Need to come to London just to get that. You take me to that restaurant.
Wow.
Also, big welcome back to Christian. You well?
No, how we doing, guys? All right.
Yeah, man. We're good, man.
We're
Good to see
good.
you.
Thanks for having me back.
No worries. Then a man we ain't had on for a long time. It's been a minute. But a big welcome back to Ferg. You well?
Good to be here. Good to be here. Wish it was under better circumstances, but it is what it is.
Nice hoodie, Ferg. Nice hoodie. I like it.
It's old school one.
Nice. I like it.
And then a man making his debut, so give him a big warm round of applause. But a big welcome to George. You well?
I'm good, man. Good. Thanks for having me.
Big up, George, man. Big up.
Yeah.
All right, let me get this all sorted. All right, let's get straight into it. Ash. So he had a week to prepare this one.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah. He had a whole week, man. Had a whole week.
What's going on? What's happening? Why are we still? What did you make of the performance? Actually,
Do you know what? The performance could have been a lot worse, in my opinion. I was expecting a lot more dross from what everyone else was predicting, because that's what I was trying to feed off. Everyone's like 4-1, we're gonna get smashed, blah blah blah. So in my head, I was preparing for the worst, but I thought performance-wise, it wasn't one of our worst, if I'm being totally honest. I think tactically, I'm not going to throw this one on Frank completely. I'm not going to throw him completely under the bus, because some of the players, in my opinion, individual passing, individual control, and then just bozo moments cost us the game, in my opinion. I could be wrong. That's what I saw. I kind of rewatched it again, and I just thought the first 30 minutes, bit dull, not a lot much to say. They had a lot of the ball. We were trying to do the counter thing. We got 1 or 2 chances here and there, but so did they. But it was nothing clear cut.
Yeah.
And obviously, we'll get into the talking points of the sendings offs.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I think the second half was, again, they got the 2 goals just real quick. Obviously, they were aggressive because they brought Isak on and they took advantage of the 10 men. And then I thought, funny enough, when we brought on Richarlison, who I'm not a fan of, he started creating a lot of chaos. You know what I mean? And it kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was kind of vexed, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I know the narrative now. He's gonna get a new contract, but we'll get into it, man. We'll get into that part. But you know what? To be fair, when he did come on, he kind of mixed it up.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was more of a reaction. We scored that goal, of course. And then, the last 10 minutes is where Liverpool looked really shaky. Like, they just got nervous. It kind of reminded me of us sometimes when we on the back foot and we just kind of negative in our tactics and we sit back and we allow teams to play apart. But yeah, that was my overarching thoughts, man. That was it, really.
All right, I'm going to go from left to right. And Oren, obviously, I always leave you till last. So, because you're a regular. Christian, obviously, you've had a lot of... Frank's not been your favourite.
No.
So, where for you was Saturday? Was it on Frank? Was it on the players? Or was it a mix?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. Now, I'm with Ash where it says, like, previous games, majority of the season, I've always said Frank's got it wrong. I think this one I can give him a bit of a buy. The only thing I don't like is his treatment of Bergvall. playing him that far out on the left, doesn't get the best out of him. It puts us a player less on the counter. I think that's the only place he really went wrong. But we've been asking him to play a bit more high intensity, have the press a bit higher, and he did do that. So I can give him a bit of a slip. But ultimately, for me, if we're saying that's a better performance, it just shows how bad the rest of the season's been. That's a Liverpool team that was there for the taking. I don't think Liverpool are any good. And if we had anything about us in the opening 20, 30 minutes that people say was good, why didn't we put anything away? And again, it shows when we get into the final third, we don't have an idea. There's no patterns of play. We don't know how to break teams down. We don't know where runs should be played. And for me, it just shows total lack of coaching in the final third. And ultimately, for that, it hadn't been a picture. Although that match wasn't down to the manager, it kind of is, because that's been the story for the whole season for me.
So you're on a bit of the performance weren't technically all on Frank, but there was parts that were.
Yeah.
But when you look at it the whole season, it's more on Frank than we can imagine. Yeah. George, I'm gonna bring you in on it. Look, obviously, we don't know how you're feeling about Frank right now, but for you on Saturday, how was you feeling after the game, and how did you feel the game went overall?
Have you ever seen 12 Angry Men? Have you ever seen 12 Angry Men?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Every Spurs situation I'm in now, I feel like the Henry Fonda character in 12 Angry Men. So he starts out this film on default as part of a jury, believing that this kid who's been accused of killing his dad might be innocent, he might be guilty, right? But we at least owe the kid like a conversation. Because everybody else has got all these reasons why they just want to get it over and done with. They're just like, he killed his dad. Let's go, let's vote and we go. They're like, oh no, but it's a kid and it's a kid's life. It's electric chair. We need to talk it out. So the rest of the film is one big conversation about whether the kid did it or not. And slowly but surely, Henry Fonda gets everybody to come around to looking at it a little bit differently. And they end up working out that the kid was innocent. Everyone has been so anti-Frank that I'm kind of almost on default trying to find a middle ground, just to hear people out, but also deal with the evidence in front of me game by game and work out why every single Spurs fan seems absolutely convinced that we need to make a decision now, like soon and out. So what? This game in isolation. If you look at the game in 3 bits, 11v11, 11v10, 9v 11. With 11v11, like Ash said, we were pretty solid. I think we had 5 shots to their 1 at a certain stage. I've been told by everybody that that's the be all and end all is XG. So we were not looking too bad in that first half an hour for holding our shape, having a few counter-attacking opportunities. You mentioned there weren't any clear cut. That Kolomwani header is clear cut. He should do better with that. That's a free header. He could test the goalkeeper more. 11v10, obviously the game changes a little bit. But nonetheless, we held a shape and we still had some counter-attacking threat. 9v11, that's as good as I've seen a 9 versus 11. They barely left their half 9 against 11. Now, does that mean that I've got full faith in what Thomas Frank is doing? Not one bit, yeah? Right now, I'm a bit like this. I'm still waiting for that moment to tell me that, he's the horse worth backing longer term. But I definitely haven't seen enough from all these games, and I've seen every single one of these games, to be absolute that he needs to go now before a window to rectify some of the issues that he would have identified already in his 3-4 months here. Having the benefits, hopefully, of Kulusevski, having the benefits of our starting number 9 in Solanke, having the benefits of Udogie fitter for a bit longer so we can have more like a natural rotation in that position. I need to wait a little bit longer. That's me.
Ferg, we'll bring you in on it.
I thought it was a better performance. I thought we got a decent half an hour, whatever it was, till the Xavi sending off. The thing that puzzled me, looking back on it now, is he started with all of our top goal scorers not in the team. So we didn't have any players Last year's top goal scorer, Brendan Johnson, who's one of our higher goal scorers, on the bench. Richarlison on the bench. Like, where were the goals going to come from? A lot of the players on the pitch haven't scored many or are struggling to score. The only one of them with decent amounts of goals was Mickey van der Ven, and he wasn't going to score in this game. I thought, I understand why Xavi was sent off. I still think it was harsh. Like, I know it's the rules, but I think the rules are a bit of a nonsense. I thought it was inevitable that Isak was going to score against us. I just knew that man was going to score. It's really unfortunate that he's got that nasty injury and he's going to have an operation, or he's had the operation. I thought we rallied really well. We showed a bit of fight, which is something that I've been desperate to see all season. But the reality is we've won 1 game in 8. We are over 10 games, 17th in the form table. And if we do not arrest this soon, our season is going to go down the toilet. So for me, the sooner they make the change with the manager, the better.
Oren, you've heard everyone else on the panel, including Ash.
Yeah.
Where do you sit on it right now? Because obviously, I kind of know where you are, but after Saturday, where is your head at the moment with it all?
Yeah, it hasn't changed. I'm always going to say give Frank more time, and again, it's, for me, tactics goes out the window when a player gets sent off. I think Spurs were just about getting in the groove, and then Xavi got sent off, and yeah, rightfully so. Like, there was no like last season Van Dijk did that to Solanke, and we all said he should have been sent off. Yep. So they looked at it, reviewed it, and said, yeah, this season that's going to happen. So he was sent off, and it was really weird because Liverpool wasn't actually doing anything up until then. They weren't, creating a lot of chances, and it was a dull game. It was more of a test match. And then after 10 men, I think a lot of fans went, right, fuck it, that's going to be 4 or whatever. But it didn't happen. Like, I think a lot of fans were thinking, Liverpool was going to score before the first half is over, and they didn't. And then what cost Spurs the game is, again, an individual mistake by a senior player, Romero, in both faults. Even the second goal, again, I thought it was soft and he played for it, but against Romero, and then he gets sent off. So for me, again, it's really difficult for me to criticize any manager or even Frank and say it's his fault, he didn't do this, because he's picked the team, and those players on that team, a few individuals, has let them down. And it's been the case for a while. Like, yes, there's some games he's picked a completely bad formation. Against Arsenal was the key. By ball, he had been, I think in a way he admitted it. But when you have players, there's nothing a manager can do when your player does a tackle like Xavi does. I mean, Xavi wasn't really playing good. I think he passed the ball out wide to nobody. And so basically he was a little bit frustrated. So he tried to win the ball back. Why he didn't start Richarlison? Well, I think Richarlison would have been a little bit too up for it and maybe cause a little bit more of a nuisance and not get in the game. So basically have him on. But I think Bergville was put there for energy, and it did work. But Spurs actually played better when they went down to 10 men. And the one thing I would say, like, even when the 9 men, and again, Richarlison came on and scored, but the one difference was, I think, when Brendan Johnson came on. Kudus, again, showed me something. I don't know why he's getting this praise. Like, the amount of times he just switched off or stopped the ball, didn't pass it on, and the fans even saw it. I think there was one chance where he had a chance to have a break, and he miscontrolled it completely. And the fans were like, okay, what? Because, he's not meant to be that player. So I've been looking at, things closely, and it's always, Spurs always seem to have like 3 players who underperform in a match, which affects the whole team. You need to have the whole group of players performing to a high level, and maybe you can have 1 who's off form. But when you have 3 at a time who's, just off form, and I think Kudus is one of those examples. I've watched him, and I'm guessing he doesn't like playing in the winter. Maybe that's the case. Maybe his head is playing in, he's used to going away to play in Africa. right? Which is warm. This is his time of year. So I just look like he gets on and he does his warm up and he just doesn't look like he wants to be there. He's got the gloves on.
He was walking on Saturday.
Can I ask a question on that Kudos thing? Because
it's just
because no, it's a thing though, isn't it? You've got Kudos not performing. He's meant to be one of our stronger players, and you've got Xavi as well. He's miscontrolling and he's mispassing. And it's not like it's the first time. I've seen it a few times. So I'm just trying to understand, what is that down to really? Is that because some people will say that's down to the players, it's down to the efforts of themselves. They're not concentrating, they're not confident. That's why they're mispassing. What do you pull it down to? Is it Frank, is he not motivating them enough to make them feel confident? George, you can answer. I see your hand up. I've got the answer.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's two very different reasons for the two players. From day one, Javi's been playing with a nervous energy. It's having to prove too much energy from day one. You saw in the West Ham match, which was his debut, and the one after, pointless little Rabonas, and when we're 3-on-3, or when the simple pass is on, he's trying to do something flashy. From day one, he's been trying to justify this kind of number 10 poster boy thing. Kudus was different. He started off strong in his first, 3-4 games. He was our standout attacker in those matches. Opposition have made adjustments for him. You notice when halfway line, just on the half turn, he has 2 on him at any given time. Now, this is something where, over a period of time, I'm hoping that the manager can make his own adjustments in the training ground, because if you have a double team on a threat, it means there is somebody open, and us moving that ball around quicker. And this is where Kudus is absolutely at fault in his inability to get rid of that ball quickly when he's under pressure from defenders. Once we become a better, more calibrated passing team, we should be able to find an extra man. Take a look. Kudus pretty much every time now gets the ball, half turn turns. He has the fullback on him and the DM. He pretty much having to navigate to, and that's what's leading to more and more unforced errors.
I kind of think, though, teams are wise up that's literally been our majority tactic for the majority of the season, is get the ball to Kudus.
Exactly.
Wait for him to run, wait for him to beat a man. The problem Xavi has, in my view, is he doesn't have a foil to play off as a striker. He hasn't got a guy he can play the ball into, him take a touch, get it back, and someone make clever movement in behind. It's just Richie can't do that. He can't hold the ball up well enough. His passing backwards is pretty poor. Mwani's not played them necessarily enough, still looks a bit rusty. I think Solanke will be a better foil for him, but he's obviously going to be out, well, by the sound of it, he's going to be out for another couple of months. So I think that's a big problem. But then there's that statistic that doesn't go away, that we've played 7 through balls all season. I mean, there's a myriad of issues with how we're playing.
But it is to do with the style of striker. And even when Solanke comes back, we don't solve that problem. Both Solanke, Kolomwani, and Richarlison, their position, they're number 9s who love to play with their back to goal. Richarlison's not good at it, but that's still his game. He's not trying to spin the centre back. None of our forwards are a Defoe. None of our forwards are even a Darren Bent in style. I
think Mwani can spin and cut, and he just seems devoid of any. He seems devoid of any confidence, and he hasn't really got a rhythm to his game yet. And I think we do have one guy who's not really a striker, but he likes to run in behind, and he's not playing at all, and it's Brennan. And for all of his foibles, the boy knows how to score a goal and arrive at the right time. But we don't try and play to his strengths.
I don't think we play to any player's strengths.
No.
I think I give Kudos a bit of, I've said it all week, is when do we stop dehumanizing players, right? They're humans at the end of the day. They're allowed to be frustrated. Now, Kudos all season has been having balls chest high or head high just flung into him, and then he's expected to do something by standing and watching. At what point, if we know he's strong on the ball, why have we just still left him to hold the ball and beat the man? Surely he's going to go into Kudos. Let's get 2-3 bodies in there where he can go square, he can go back, he can play a little 1-2. That's what he's looking for. He's having to hold it onto it for 2-3 minutes because those supporting runs don't come in. The one that's always there is the back pass to Porro that goes back to the centre backs. That's the only option we ever have. Now, Kudus, if the fair few times, probably like maybe 5, I can count on one hand this season, the times we've actually got him the ball and he's facing the fullback, he has gone on and beaten him. So why we've not gone on to do that? Why do we still keep launching balls in it at him and then standing there and watching him? It don't play to his strengths. It doesn't help him. He's going to start losing more duels. What George just said is 100% right, is you got to give him a bit of leeway because that DM always comes across. The fullback's on his back because they know he's going to play with his back to goal. He's not going to look to turn. He's going to hold the ball up and look for a bit of support. It doesn't come. So I think we got to give him a bit of leeway on that. I'll be honest. Although I do get what Orin is saying. He has not been at what we've seen at the beginning. But again, I have to give him that leeway because I can understand frustration to a certain degree.
Is it a case of like Kudus is showing like inconsistencies like what he did at West Ham, or is it a case of we're not profiling him, or you're saying we're not positioning him in the right place? Is that what you're trying to say?
Just the way we feed him, position-wise, I don't think we...
So where would you position him then? Where would you...
You still play him on that right, but you bring him in a little bit more central. If you are going to play him out wide, make sure you get your bodies out there. Whoever's that 8 on that side needs to get closer to him. Or you need to get that... You can't play Bergwijn. This is why I go back to Bergwijn on the left. If you got your strikers that drop in, cool, go drop in, but pull to the right to go and help Kudus, and then you have your left forward coming inside and running in behind. That's where you stretch your defenders. Kudus ain't going to do that. Our centre forwards ain't going to do that. Bergwijn ain't doing it. So I don't understand what the whole idea is.
But this is one of the problems we've had pretty much since Champions League final, Europa League final till now. That was the first like high-profile match where there was no Kulusevski or no Maddison. So we've always had to play like a triangle down three in the midfield. So essentially 2 more sitting types and 1 10 and a very isolated type 10. I think if we had those options of a Maddison and a Kulusevski, one of those plus a Bergwijn or one of those plus a Xavi with a proper holding midfielder does instantly give more options to the wingers in terms of who they can work with. Right now, all Kudus has got is to wait for Porro to join the action. And the problem with that is we don't want Porro to be too advanced because he's not the best going the other way. You know, it's a long journey back. He's not Kyle Walker. He doesn't have that speed. So he can't keep showing every single time on the overlap. It'd be good to have good attacking 10 and 8 options for Kudus to be able to interact with.
I like the idea of like the Leipzig style 2 10s that pull wide. So you'd put Xavi on the left-hand side, left 10, and Kudus as the right 10. If we had a back 3 and we pushed the 2 wing backs if once Destiny's fit, so we could go a bit more traditional with their actual position that they were assigned to play rather than this back 4 that we're doing. I think it could really have a dynamic pairing behind the striker. But we still got a few other problems to sort out other than them. I think Kudus is easy to blame because he isn't hitting quite the heights. But let's be honest, he's been one of our top 3 players this season easily.
And I think that's the issue there, is that when things are not going right, it's very easy to go to your star players and be like, why are you not dragging us out of this when we're not looking at all? Although Kudus ain't been at his best, right? Recently, he's ultimately been one of our best players this season, right? So we're looking to Kudus to do that a bit more. We're looking at Xavi because we signed him more.
Being like deployed differently in the game, change his position up more. It's just like it seems very much like he's just stuck on the right. I know he likes playing there, but in the game he could rotate with another player, could rotate with Xavi, change it up, make it more unpredictable. And that's so much more difficult to deal with because I've seen when he was playing for West Ham him make really dynamic runs from the centre and burning people with his pace. But it's just always the same. We are a very predictable team, let's be honest. Like that's what this season's shown. We are incredibly predictable. And it's set pieces, throw-ins, and Kudus. That's our main plan.
Can we talk about the starting lineup then? Because what did you not think of that? Like going into that game against Liverpool, looking at the players that we have, looking at the formations, did you think Frank was right to go with that starting lineup? Because you're talking about Kudos having him in different positions. Was anyone unhappy with that starting lineup going into that game? Because obviously, we had Bergvall, as you said, he was in the midfield, and so was Xavi, but we didn't have an out-and-out left winger. And I think we played more centrally because of what Liverpool were doing, in my opinion. I think like Thomas was trying to... we could see that Liverpool were going to pack the midfield, and I think that Frank looked at that and said, well, if I play with a winger, essentially I could play with one less midfielder.
Ash, can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
What do you think Bergvall was sent out there to do?
That's a great question. That's absolutely great question.
As I said, I think he was asked to become a rotational piece with Xavi, and I think between the two of them, one would occupy the central position as an attacking midfielder, and the other one would play like more of an inside left midfielder, if that makes sense. So you'd have like a block essentially in the middle to deal with what Liverpool were doing, because they had more or less like a diamond. So we had to kind of compensate. They had 4 men in midfield essentially. So by having Xavi and Bergvall closer together, they could at times block up that central control. Do you know what I mean? So we were less open through the middle because this is my guessing.
No, I hear it. So I think that's the idea that you want to play, but and this is without me looking at heat maps. This is going off my memory, right? And it'd be good to see, because for me,
I'll bring it up.
He was standing in front of Spence and not doing anything else. I think Frank doesn't trust Bergvall in the middle, and he likes him just because he can run a lot and he gets stuck in. For me, his job was stop that fullback bombing forward and don't do nothing else. He didn't get. For me, he didn't get involved in attacking plays. He didn't go in the half spaces. He wasn't linking. For me, he was just very defensive in terms of watch where that fullback goes and don't really move too much. But this, again, I could be wrong.
Well, that's his heat map. If you could see it, I don't know if you could see it.
Popping up on the left, all over the shop a bit.
Yeah.
I reckon most of that bit on the left was exactly what Christian was saying. I bet most of that's in the first half an hour before Xavi gets sent off.
Yeah.
The game totally changed after that happened, didn't it?
Because did Frank make the wrong decision to go and be thinking about what Liverpool were going to do instead of actually what Spurs can do?
But that's what he does all the time. Like, that's literally their MO.
But guys, whether you think he made the wrong call or he didn't, let's look at the context of the previous 6-7 matches. We probably had more efforts at goal in this first half an hour than the previous 6 or 7 matches put together. Yeah, like that's just how it rolled.
No, because apart from the reason I bring this up is because I think I'm with Christian on this, but you've all said it. That first half an hour, why did everybody think that was a good half an hour when Liverpool didn't lay a glove on us and then didn't lay a glove on us with 9 men either? Because I don't think that first half an hour was great in the sense of considering how we played against Brentford and considering how Liverpool turned up. I thought we were poor in that half an hour. The fact that everyone's saying we maintained Liverpool with 10, and we maintained Liverpool. You just go look at what they actually created in that game. They created 2 chances. They scored from both. That was all they created the whole game. So why was that first half an hour decent considering what we saw against Brentford last week? Take Forest out of the equation.
It's just the bar of what we've been seeing so much this season.
And I get that. But why have we all then lowered our bar to go and think, because we're playing Liverpool, that first half an hour, because Ash said it, Oren said it, Jules said it, and even I think Fergie said it, but Christian was the only one who didn't say that first half an hour was great. Go on, carry on. Answer it.
I didn't think it was great. I said it was better.
Was it Christian who's... Yeah, but it was Christian who was saying, talking about football players as human beings and not dehumanizing these players.
Yep.
What had we just done in the game before this? We got humiliated by Nottingham Forest, yeah? To come in and do even that for the first 30 minutes, to me, is a significant improvement. Players aren't just going to switch it on. Not a team that's been largely struggling to create all season. For us to get to the first half hour against the reigning champions whatever you think of their form, and hold them to not a lot, and us create one or two things and keep our shape. For me, I was happy enough with that. And I think I would have been happy with that last season and the season before against Liverpool.
But considering how the game ended up panning out, for me, how I looked at it, considering what I saw of Liverpool on Saturday, that first half an hour was very disappointing, considering when Richarlison came on, that was probably when we were at our best.
So basically, the first half an hour, I said the narrative was that we were going to get battered. I said, it wasn't amazing because there wasn't a lot of goal mouth action.
It was boring. It was boring as hell.
It was the dull first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like, we didn't create a lot, but they never created a lot either.
Exactly.
Defending, they had a lot of the ball, which was expected. So that's what I was commenting on in terms of the first 30 minutes. And there was a few sloppy individual errors from players that we like to lean on. Players that we would look at, for example, as I said before, Xavi. Xavi's meant to be that. So my question is really, what is the expectation of Xavi Simons? Do you know what I mean? For the fan base, for the season, is it that he gets 5 goals and maybe 5 assists? Is that considered acceptable? Is that bar too low? Is it 10 goals?
Ash, can we even look at goals and assists anymore? Because
I mean, all right. So
I'll put my hands up. I'm one that said I don't want Brennan at the football club.
Yeah.
But we're setting targets on Xavi for goals and assists.
Oh, you're right.
And the one that gets them, we're saying get out.
So what I'm asking is, what bar do we measure these players by? Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. What's
just what they bring to the team, what they're able to create. And I think Xavi's showing in glimpses what he can do. I think even in that Liverpool game, it was him that set Kudos off with that little flick.
I'm just asking the question: if like his trajectory is to carry on from what we've seen so far, is that considered acceptable or is that a flop from Xavi? That's what I want.
Well, it's not been great, but I think the thing I'm going to give him is it's a vastly different league, and I think we're seeing what Wirtz is struggling at Liverpool, and Wirtz cost significantly more money than him. It's going to take him, I think, the season really to properly acclimate to the Premier League. So I'm going to kind of give him more of a pass this season and have higher expectations next year. To be honest, like you say, if he got 5 goals and 5 assists, I'd probably say that was reasonable for the first season in this context of how we're playing, how poor the season is for us. But it is underwhelming.
Yeah,
so, go on.
Yeah, for me, it's eye test stuff. I mean, data's gonna back that up, and it's useful to be thinking in terms of how many goals and assists he's gonna come up with. I think so far, what is it? 2 goals, 3 assists in all competitions, right? I think that's where he's sitting at. There's that West Ham one on the debut, and a couple in Europe, I think, or one against Brentford. So whatever, right? His stats are gonna be his stats. Just eye test from game to game. The sense that he's like acclimatizing to the physicality, the tempo, that he's more in sync with his teammates, weight of pass is better. I'll be honest, my biggest disappointment with him so far has actually been some of the technical stuff. Weight of pass, choice of pass, when there are options on a fast break with 3-on-3. That's the stuff that, you know, whatever league you're playing in, you tend to have a natural kind of feel for that, you know? I'm looking more at that. The other stuff, like Luka Modric, that will come over a period of time. If you remember, Luka Modric was part of that 2 points in 8 games start when, you know, under Ramos. And I just thought, wow, we've paid quite a bit of money here for somebody who physically may really struggle. But he more than got used to the league physically, more than got used to being able to run tempo in Premier League matches. So my issues with Xabi, I'm looking at his game, his bag. Yeah, like where's your shot from distance? We saw an amazing example of his shooting threat in the semi-final against England for Netherlands, but I haven't seen that long distance shooting threat. I haven't seen that weight of pass yet, and I'm holding him to that standard.
So
I just don't think we've got him in those positions. But
this was going to be my question to you.
He's been in shooting positions. Trust me. Do
you think Frank tactically is not helping Xavi in this league right now?
I don't think it's just tactically. I think it's personnel as well. I think we started seeing Xavi improve, and we saw Odebear improve when they played together with Adoji behind. Then what happened? Odebear had one bad half, and we haven't seen him since. So where's the partnerships going to build when they're constantly changing? Telk played for a bit. Odebear's played. Now he's put Bergvall on the left. Xavi, where's he going to build those connections? And for me, that's again on the manager where he looks at games tactically to look at what the other team does rather than building our DNA and what we're going to do to teams.
If Kulusevski was to come back tomorrow, where does Xavi fit in?
Well, he's still on the bench.
For me, he's on the bench.
he's suspended for 3 games. So that's where he fits in.
He fits in next to Dane Scarlett on the bench.
I disagree.
For me right now. Not saying going forward. Now, today, if Kulusevski was fit and available today and we had a big game of the weekend, he'd sit on the bench for me.
I can see him playing on the left.
I think
I don't even think he goes kudos on the left or anything like that. I think he looks at Kulusevski. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He wants him to play. I think he puts him in the 8, just like he did to Damsgaard. Damsgaard was an out-and-out 10, even as a left forward in Italy. Comes to him, and he's been playing him as an 8, even sometimes as a left back. I think we'll see that as Kulu. We'll put him in the 8 and try and get him to progress the ball with his dribbling ability. I think the only one that takes Xavi out of that team is Maddison.
Maddison ain't playing this season, or if he is, it'll be like a few games at the end.
Yeah, how many games did Kulusevski play in the 8 last season? Was it predominantly him playing centrally, or was it?
He played 1 or 2 last year in the 8. He didn't play many. Most of them was number 10. Yeah.
So I'm asking.
He preferred to play Maddison in the 8, didn't he? When he was trying
Frank,
that.
Yeah, Frank tried to go. He always played the thing. The problem, I think, when Kulusevski comes back, I think what Frank will do is Xavi will still play, but he'll play off the left. Kulu will go in the 10. He'll protect, and I know people don't like it, but away from home, it does work apart from Arsenal. He'll play Benson and Paulinho behind him. Because at this present moment, as soon as he took them 2 out, especially now away from home, we're vulnerable again.
He'll love his running power as well.
Yeah.
He'll love the running power and the height that he adds to the in the 10 role.
So Xavi will still play even if Kulu comes back.
Yeah, I think he'll play left wing. I think you're right. Unless we buy someone significant in January.
Go on, George.
What's the argument now for Xavi left wing over Odebear? Just between us, forget what the manager's thinking. Like, what would your for me? What does he bring on the left that Odebear doesn't?
I think Christian pointed it out earlier. When with Odebear, he's very inconsistent of what when he is on that left. He's very frustrating. Apart from that, we had saw a couple good games this season, which Udogie was playing. Udogie's not there anymore, and it seems that since Odebear comes in, what does he actually produce? And it was only on Saturday where I went, you actually are trying to do something again. But if you actually consistently look at it, Odebear doesn't find anybody. He doesn't beat his man as often as he should. He's always going back, and that's what's frustrating with him. And that's probably why he's not playing as much. The only good game that he's had is when he came off the bench against Manchester United. He started the next game, and he was just, what are you going to show us? And I think that's the problem with Odebear.
Sure, but I'm saying specifically Xavi on the left versus Odebear on the left. Because you play Xavi on the left. One thing you wouldn't get is him sort of. So what he would do? What would he do?
If I looked at what Frank tried to do at the beginning of the season when Udogie was there, Udogie ended up playing as far forward as possible, and whoever was on the left came in the middle. So there was basically two 10s, which means then, as someone pointed out earlier, it means Kudos will have someone spare. And I think that's the way he wants to go. So he'll have the 3 at the back, and then you've got Paulinho and Bentancur protecting just in case it breaks down. But at the moment, Spence is so right-footed that Spence can't get down that left-hand side and be the intricate person. That's why Udogie is such a big miss, because he is left-footed. That's the way.
Here's the thing about Udogie, though, because when he has been fit, how many crosses has he put in?
Exactly.
How many times has he beaten a defender?
No, but I think it's more about the balance of the squad.
Yeah, team. I understand that, but as an attacking
threat, I agree with you, because he's.
But if you watch it, he doesn't tend to overlap. He tends to play central, exactly the same way as Spence. Yeah. It was almost like watching how Angie played with the inverted full back. And I can't count the amount of times Udogie's actually made an overlap and run. Spence will make an overlap and run, even though he's right-footed. He wouldn't. And he'll still try. But when I look at Udogie playing, because in the Spurs training, they did a training video with him when he was coming back, and they took him to the side It was him and a couple of coaches, and they fed him the ball, and he was practicing crossing. So they are working on it. It's just on that pitch, he doesn't know when to look up, and his defensive vulnerabilities as well. Because before he got injured, he has always a slight case of switching off a little bit. So again, yes, I understand the imbalance, but I think Frank is stuck with the knowledge of going, right, we have a natural left-footed player who can't seem to cross the ball.
Yeah.
So, but we have a right-footed player who can get it, he will get down, he will try his hardest and cut in. So, you know, so like it almost has Spence and Udogie are almost the same, even though they're not meant to be.
Yeah, I get what you mean by that.
And
I
the reason
don't know
why
if this is me again, because I've watched a lot of Italian football, right? The player you're describing, yes, he wasn't Porro or David Beckham with his crossing, but he was this flying overlapper that could drive into the box, cut it back, put it across goal, even score goals.
Yeah, I get that.
And he's come here, and Ange, we knew he played with inverted fullbacks. Now, why is he coming back inside with Frank? Is it because his wingers are starting too wide?
See,
By the time he joins, the only run he's got is
the thing is,
before you answer it, can I just ask Christian a question on that? You know, when you, because obviously I didn't watch much Italian football, but did Udogie mostly play in a back three?
He played as a left wing back.
Go on. That's all.
Right. So that's the thing. Like with you, Christian, you're always going to link it back to Frank and the manager. But like I've watched it, and I'm always going to say, to play devil's advocate against you is like, I have watched Udogie, and this isn't only under Frank. This was under Angie as well.
3 assists in 2 seasons.
Right. So basically, it's not a Frank thing, and that's what I'm trying to like say. This we have to look at what the majority of these players that we're talking about also played, apart from Xavi, Kudus, and all. But these same players played for Angie, and when I watch Udogie, I'm thinking, right, you can get across, make cross, do overlap. He doesn't do that. He cuts in. So is that his natural instincts, just to cut in? And I don't
know, because I totally get what you're saying, Oren, and I agree with you.
Let me just finish. I really don't think Frank goes, right, I don't want you to overlap. I don't want you to cross the ball. I want you just to run in the middle. I want you to stick there. I just think that, yes, we always blame the manager, but these same players, and we've seen it throughout the Tottenham, and we talked about it last stream with Marlon on the culture of these Tottenham Hotspur players. They come to this club and they always seem to know we can play bad, but we're not going to get stick because we know that the manager is going to get the blame or the chairman's going to get the blame. And the more I'm watching it, I'm thinking, right, Udogie comes back. He doesn't really do anything. He's injured again. Spence comes in. He's trying to do something. And it's almost kind of a case of how much longer are we going to keep saying it's the manager's fault just because we don't particularly like that manager?
No, I get what you're saying, Owen, and I do agree. But the reason why I link it to Frank is the same way that you're totally right. He did it under Ange. We knew Ange played with inverted fullbacks. Udogie was signed from a team where he played left wing back, where I've just looked at his stats. He went 5-3 his first year, and then he went 3-4 his second year, right? Mm-hmm. And he was playing as a left wing back. We signed him when we had Conte. Conte left before he was actually able to play for him. The reason why he was signed is because we was playing wing backs. Now, he's gone under 2 managers that asked him to cut inside. Maybe Ange has drilled it into him that he has to cut inside, and naturally he's doing that more when Frank's telling him the opposite. But I'm not going to blame the player just yet.
I do think also
I've seen injuries. In Italy, he was totally
what I'm talking about, Christian, is decision making.
Oh,
I get what you're saying.
I agree with that.
So basically, I think what these, especially against, we can criticize a manager, but when we criticize Frank, we're criticizing his decision making because he's made a decision to pick the tactics and all. So when, as fans, do we start going, right, Spurs have got certain players who just don't make good decisions at the right time. And so when it's like Romero, why would you try that pass? Because if that was Archie Gray, everyone would be slating Archie Gray. He shouldn't be starting. He should be doing this.
Romero got slated.
No, but not as big as Archie Gray. Not as big as Gray.
Yeah, but you can't really level them two because Archie Gray is somebody who hasn't performed for Spurs ever, apart from a couple games where when you look at Romero, there's been more games that he's performed than he hasn't.
But there's also been more games where he's been missing. Because again, he's going to be missing for how long now? 3 games now. And how many mistakes? Again, I'm not slating. I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, you would expect Archie Gray to make mistakes because he's still developing. But when you have these senior players making mistakes, what is that coming down to? And maybe it's the profile of players that Spurs as a club needs to start looking at, if that's possible.
But I'm gonna go with Christian on it. When we're consistently seeing these mistakes, you've really got to start. You can't blame the players, but you really got to start asking yourself tactically, what are they being told to why we're making so many? There's way too many individual errors from these players. Way too many in this team. I think most of our goals have been down to individual errors.
Yes, and what does individual errors come down to? Doesn't it come down to when a player takes a risk?
So
confidence.
I would when there's little, when it's like 1 or 2, you go, you know what, he's taking a risk, it hasn't worked. But when we're consistently seeing this now,
from the same players, from the same players who are meant to be.
No. It's from different players. It's from Vicario, it's from Porro, it's from Romero.
Yeah, that's what I mean. From different players.
Yeah. And you kind of got certain players. What tactically are we being set up for these players to be always making individual errors? Because when you go 1 or 2, you go fine, okay, you give or take. But this is consistently happening with all of them now. It's not just one, and this is the problem.
But is it? That's what I'm trying to say. Is it the tactics, or is it these players?
Well, this is why I'm starting to
make
think
a good pass.
Tactics. No, but this
shouldn't Pero and all being able to make good passes?
Yeah, but this is why I'm thinking: is it because we know these players can make good passes because they go for international duty, and then they suddenly can be able to pass. They come to Spurs all of a sudden playing under Frank. They can't make a pass.
But is it under Frank or is it playing for the pressure of Spurs and the fans?
I don't know. If you look at our underlying metrics, did you see the statistics in the week about how low our underlying metrics? Like we give away loads and loads of XG against us. Our XG is horrific. Like our possession is mid. Our completed passes. All these numbers we're talking about. They're like 90 something in Europe. Most of them. The guy put the stat. I don't know if you guys saw it in the week. I shared it in a couple of the groups. Right, it isn't all right. The players, they make bozo moments, but the fact is, we try and negate it, the opposition all the time. We sit back a lot. I mean, those the Arsenal and the Chelsea game. How anyone could possibly try and defend that to me, I don't know. They're 2 of the worst performances. I've been a Spurs fan since 1984. I've been going to games since 1984. I have never seen performances against those 2 clubs quite well. A couple have been that horrific, but not many that horrific where we didn't even try. And we've had worse teams than this. I think nothing.
I think the 2 worst performances I've seen from Spurs in recent seasons were that 4-1 loss against Arsenal and the 1-0 loss against Bournemouth. The 1-0 loss against Bournemouth was worse than the one against Chelsea. We barely got out of our half for 90 minutes.
Forest was honking as well.
So Forest was terrible, but that one falls more into the category of some of the other ones of just a lack of an ability to make a basic pass. Arsenal game, it was just route 1 football. It's all we had. It was the Vicario 3 kicks from 80 yards pumped to Richarlison, you know?
So, let's talk about the Bournemouth game. Okay, let's go back to that because if you look at Areola,
that was a telltale science.
No, I'm just saying. Would you say that Spurs have a better start 11 than Bournemouth or not?
Of course we do, significantly. On paper, significantly.
So why do you think then?
Apart from front
so why would you think then where they're able to dominate us in our own half at times and play?
Yeah, but that was okay. But actually, you're asking that question. Hold on. You're going to ask that question, but that was the only time that Bournemouth have practically done it this season because they are now sitting below us in this league.
And
I hear that.
But don't forget, they lost 4 of their back 5 in the summer.
This is what I'm saying, Berg. So I'm asking that question because I want to know, like, if they're passing, they're moving the ball, they've got patterns of play, they clearly know what they're doing, and then Spurs
but have they? But the question is, for me, on that question is, have they? Because
style of play, what is our identity?
Yeah, but what's Bournemouth's identity this season?
Bournemouth are letting in a lot of silly goals.
maybe Bournemouth's a bad example. The point I'm trying to get at is why do we still, to this day, when we've played over 20 games under Frank, is there a lack of identity in style and fans can't put their finger on?
But there is an identity, but you pinpointed it earlier. We played our style is to stop the other team from playing.
That's
our
style,
identity.
is it?
That's the thing, though. That's
a top 6 club or alleged.
That's the thing. That's the basis of any, to stop the other team. And of course, when you have attacking, of course, Frank has set up ways of attacking. The issue is Spurs, when they go forward, like I said, they can't make simple 5-yard passes. Even Xavi, who's meant to be a really good passer of the ball. And you have to boil down to it. What is going on? Is it the pressure? Is it they can't deal with pressure? Or against Nottingham Forest, the players gave the ball away 25 times. You can't really put that down on Frank.
Yeah.
So basically, it's looking at it, because again, we, for certain players we do humanize, taking into consideration that Spurs, like I've said, I think Spurs have too many players who just have collectively they have a bad day. They'd look like that. I'm talking about Kudus as well. I'm not slating or bringing him down. this is an observation.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Kudus just looks sometimes like, and this is, even the commentary have said this, like he just doesn't want to be there. He just like when he was brought off and Johnson came on, Johnson showed a bit more direction. And it's really interesting because Johnson, yes, has been criticized because he doesn't have end product, but what he does do is he does run behind. He does sprint. Whereas I've seen Kudus, but what this does is it kind of affects the whole team, because Pero's a good passer of the ball as well. So he has to decide what to do. Left-hand side, when it comes to Oderbear, he's too slight. He gets bounced off the ball. So I think Frank is dealing with a group of players and he's trying to rotate them and find the best possible solution, knowing that no matter what he does, there's going to be a couple of players who will let him down and affects the team. And these players know, this whole squad know, doesn't matter, because we'll play bad, manager will get sacked, a new manager will come in, we'll play good for a while, shit will hit the fan, and then we're back to square one. We've seen this repeating over and over again.
Why they keep lurching from one style of manager to another. The diametrical difference. Like the thing that works at Brighton is they do evolution, not revolution. Why did we go from the most crazy attacking coach possible, who's a complete zealot, to a very pragmatic coach who, despite his promises of we're going to play front foot attacking football, I'm sorry, I don't see it. It's not front foot attacking football. It's negative.
Go on, George.
Can I have a go? I'll take it all the way back from your Iraola thing. Iraola is a good comparison, because do you remember how many of Iraola's first 9 matches he won? None, right? So Iraola didn't win a single one of his first 9 matches. Identity was very much nowhere to be seen, especially as they were pretty happy with the manager they had beforehand, yeah? And so Iraola comes in and he's trying to change things. It looks pretty awful. Over a period of time, he's like the nearest thing to Pochettino in terms of profile of where he's at now. A lot of Spurs fans looked at his Bournemouth situation and compared it to Southampton and think maybe he could be a good manager for the job. Of course, like you said, they've had to deal with all kinds of setbacks, like selling 3 of their starting back for the summer, and yet they've
and the keeper
and the keeper. So yeah. 4 out of the 5. So yeah, they're going to be inconsistent. But the point is, that guy hasn't become a bad manager overnight. He has some tricky challenges to overcome right now, and by the end of the season, he's going to have them in a nice spot. Now, you said that diametrically opposed thing of we have Mourinho-style manager, Conte-style manager.
Well, and to
sure,
Frank,
but we've been doing it before, right? We went from Pochettino to Mourinho.
But I don't understand why we do this. I don't get it.
I think for the first time, the appointment of Frank, whether we've seen it or not, in their mind, he represented the middle ground between the Conte and Mourinho and Nuno stuff and the Ange thing. He's meant to be the middle ground. And why can I say that confidently is because he built his Brentford team block by block from a team that were difficult to play against, that worried primarily about the opposition, to what we saw last season, where they were one of the most effective attacks in the Premier League at home. I think they were the second top scorers in the league last year, with Wissa hitting almost 20, and Mbeumo doing a similar thing. Kevin Schade, Ivan Toney the years before. He's been good with working with forwards. Look, I'm not suggesting that the job might not be too big for him or that he might be the perfect fit. I just can't believe that with the sample size of matches we've had, of which I've seen 6 or 7 dreadful ones, 4 or 5 in the middle, and 5 or 6 that encourage me, and I can list them off right now. How is that enough for us to know, without a window, for him to look at this team and go, right, one thing that's clear for me now is our lack of a deep-lying guy who can dictate tempo. This team doesn't have a Michael Carrick like Yol did. This team doesn't have a Modric like Harry did. And this team certainly doesn't have a Dembele like Poch did. Every single time those managers went without those players, they looked closer to this than to the thing that we remember fondly.
I'll ask you this though,
let me quickly finish. I remember those games vividly when it was Wanyama and Dyer in midfield, or Sissoko and Winks, or any combination of those midfielders that didn't involve Dembele, and we somehow looked like we couldn't string 5-6 passes together. Now, that might seem like me giving the manager a pass. I just want to see what happens if they even buy a Ruben Neves level midfield player, right? It doesn't even have to be Dembele, just somebody who can receive it on a half turn, give it back to a defender, get it back, initiate from deep. We have nobody like that at our club, and we wonder why we find it so difficult to get out of that back third into the middle third.
George, you're 100% right in terms of the profiles we need at the club. Now, this is where I go back to Frank. We can only go off what we've seen, and we've seen only him at Brentford. We haven't seen him anywhere else. Mm-hmm. From what you've seen Frank set up, the profile players he uses in that midfield, what makes you think they're even going to go and get that player? Because for me, they got Paulinho because he fits the exact build of a player that he uses.
Sorry, you broke up a little there, but I think I got it. Yeah?
From what we've seen from Frank and his setups in Brentford,
sure.
What makes you think he wants the profile of player that you're describing?
Well, if you look at the Brentford midfield, that player I'm talking about, that profile of midfield player, they barely exist. There's so few of them, period. Look at the Premier League now. How many teams have that player, period? From the most elite ones all the way to the ones in the bottom. There may be 4 of that player in the league right now. Brentford certainly went in a market to do better than a Nørgaard sitting deep. That's as good as it could get for Brentford in terms of a guy who had physical presence and had, a little bit about him. They did a miracle to get Damsgaard at that club. Damsgaard's profile coming off the back of his time in Italy and what he'd done for Denmark's national team at the Euros, they would have had no chance of getting him if it wasn't for his Danish connection. I think we can't judge him entirely based on the Brentford thing, but I'm sure that he has seen this team and recognized that is the biggest issue with the team. Now, if we to go into this window and we prioritize a different kind of signing, that will already reveal to me that he might not be seeing things the way he ought to. That's why I want to give him to the end of the window.
Yeah, no, I totally see your point. And I only can go off of what I've seen of Frank, right? And I can't use Damsgaard because Damsgaard is someone in the final third or in the middle. He's not a deep line playmaker.
Sure.
Who did he have behind them? He had
Nørgaard,
Jensen and Nørgaard.
Jensen's technical.
They're big players. They're not really known for their technical ability. Now,
Jensen is much more.
When I'm looking at who did he bring in, he brought in Paulinho. Even if we look at all the rumours, right, and a lot of them are not going to be true. Semenyo, a great player, right? And I wanted Semenyo for a long time, and he offers a bit more. But when I'm looking at Frank, has he gone and identified Semenyo just because of his size and power? Because he is not a profile of a left winger that you'd normally see across the board. And for me, he just wants that size, he wants that physicality, and there's not much technical ability that he wants in that team. And then I can only base it off Brentford. Like I said, I could be totally wrong. But I just can't give him a window based on what I've seen so far and the players I think he'd link to.
But in one team, Brian Mbeumo, Nørgaard, Damsgaard, Jensen, Schade, they're all pretty technical, man. Like none of those players, they all have flair, they touch. Even Tony, as a big guy, a lot of nines. I think that isn't a typical battle ram team. But
but the Brentford system, like that they have like Brighton, they have like a set of Moneyball like algorithms that they use to find players. He didn't go out and choose all the players. They showed him some. He's like, yeah. Right? We don't have that at Spurs. They said they brought it in, but they were still trying to do LinkedIn hires a few months ago for these positions. Like, this is half the difficulty you can have. It's like when Potter went to Chelsea. When you take away that scaffold of the system around him, the club around him, it's way more difficult. And I don't trust Langer. I don't trust Langer to do the job that they did at Brentford. Their scouts are miles better than him. Right? That guy failed miserably at Villa.
Just on the profile of forwards, can I just speak on that? Because I feel like with Frank, looking at someone like Kevin Schade, he's not really your touchline winger. He's not a touchline winger. Yeah. He's more of a out to in kind of forward, if that makes sense. And I think having Kudus on the right, that profile is more of a hugline, touchline winger. So maybe he wanted something a little bit different on that left-hand side. And if you look at Odegaard gives us width when he does play, compared to like a Xavi. If Xavi was on the left, Xavi's more of a midfielder, starts out on the left and then drifts into the 10. Whereas I think Odegaard hugs wide and he's more of a touchline winger. So maybe he's looking at the teams thinking, no, we need to get more goals. I'm used to more goals in my front line. And he wants that, almost like when Pep first came, or even Pep at Barcelona. Pep, when he was transforming Barcelona, you remember he started with Thierry Henry, he had Eto'o, and he had Ronaldinho. It's before Messi came. Then obviously Messi came in, and then eventually he went to forwards that were kind of out to in forwards. Like he had Pedro on one, going out to in. Do you understand? On the other wing, he had David Villa. David Villa
played through the middle.
He wasn't a hug line, touchline winger. He was out to. So when teams wanted to do the high line, you have forwards that could run in and break that defensive high line. So I'm thinking, I'm not comparing.
Sure, of course, I know.
I'm not comparing Thomas Frank to the Pep or even Xavi, because even I know Xavi likes out to in wingers because he played alongside Pedro and those players. But I'm thinking maybe with the forward he's looking for, he's maybe looking for a forward that does those type of runs. Sorry, Marlon, go on.
No, but my question would be to you on that, because you've used two managers there, and I know you're not comparing Pep and Xavi, but you're using managers there that like to play with the ball. Brentford have never been known.
No, but if you look at Visa,
but it doesn't matter if we bring in Visa, and if it doesn't matter if we bring in Visa, Tony, Mbeumo, because if you bring them into a Spurs team,
I'm talking about profiles here.
But you could bring them into a Spurs team right now, and they wouldn't perform because we want to have the ball. Frank's never been a manager to go and have the ball. He's always played with Brentford, and why they were consistent was because they were counter-attacking.
Yeah, so my point is, sometimes the point I'm trying to make is that you might want a forward rather than a touchline winger. And I don't see Visa, that's at Newcastle at the moment, as a touchline winger. I see him as a forward. And he would often deploy him either on the left or on the right, or sometimes.
Yeah, Visa's going to be interesting at Newcastle because, again...
But this is my question, though. Ash.
Say again, what was the question?
It's my question.
Go on.
If he wants that profile, why don't he play Matthias Tell?
Maybe he doesn't rate. He profiled him as a striker. Maybe he doesn't rate him as. I don't think it's a correct profile. I think he should be playing starting on the left. I think he's been.
Doesn't Brennan fit that profile to a degree? But he won't play him on the right. You know what I mean?
Well, he can't play Brennan because he has to play Kudus.
No, but I'm saying like he's kind of got the profile, but
tried him on the left.
He won't use him. Yeah,
he tried him on the left.
But it don't work. Yeah,
it didn't work, and so that's what I'm thinking in my head. Logically,
away from home, but we didn't like it.
Yeah. the problem that Ash, the problem is, and Marlon, the problem with how he played at Brentford to how he's going to play with us is teams aren't going to teams are going to sit back and low block him. They wouldn't do that at Brentford.
No, I understand that, but in my head, and I could be wrong, and I criticize Frank for this. I think there's times when I'm like, bro, you need to bait the press. And so what we need to do is get Vicario on the ball, put his foot on the ball, and then he passes it out from the back.
No.
You know what happens?
No.
You know
What? No.
No, but he's trying to.
No.
Wait, hear me out.
No. No.
Now.
You've messed the whole seriousness up by saying Vicario needs to put his foot on the ball. That's
no. All right.
No.
Forget that.
Even on Saturday, he put his foot in the ball, had time, and kicked it out.
Right,
and the
correct.
fans booed him.
Which, by the way, which I was happy with, by the way, because he needed to do that.
You know what I mean? So
the fans need to make up their mind. Do they want him to put his foot through it or not?
Yes,
They boo him no matter which one he does.
You don't want Vicario to think on the ball.
All right,
that's why he's so good at reacting.
We're going away from my point. My point is that what we're trying to do is play out from the back to entice the other team onto us. To create those artificial transitions.
Yeah, but Ash, Ash, you're right. But the problem is, no team apart from Bournemouth when they came to us, and probably the top sides, are going to go and press on us because they're going to be like,
"That's not true.
Keep it." They won't.
That's not true.
People have been pressing us all season.
No, they press us when they get into the middle because that's where we lose it. But if you've got the middle at the back. Let's take our home games. No one has sat there and pressed us when it comes to our goalkeeper because they're like, "Go on, it's you, Tottenham."
The reality is what Ash is saying should work. I don't disagree. The problem we've got is we got a midfield that's so isolated. None of them create triangles and squares. None of them show for the ball. That's where the whole Romero issue comes from. He's got his head up. He doesn't want to keep passing to Van der Ven, so he's gone and tried to. He's seen Moani drop his shoulder and try and run in behind. So he's tried to skip the whole midfield. And ultimately, our midfield don't show. They don't want the ball. They're not in setup. We don't set up triangles. We don't play square. And these players are forced to make these issues. Otherwise, Van der Ven to Romero to Porro, then back across to the other side. That midfield is just non-existent. It don't help our attackers. It don't help our defenders. And that's why we're seeing so many errors from centre-backs.
Hold on. Sorry, guys. Change this up a bit. Is that better? Should we do it like that?
Yeah.
Maybe like this. Made it smaller. All right, cool. Because everyone, like even myself, sometimes I will ask, what are we doing here? Like, what is Frank trying to do? What is the style? So I've got.
Keep going back to Frank. It's always
no, because it's part of the situation. I know it's boring, isn't it? We're always talking about that. It is tiresome, but ultimately, because it is down to some of the players. Like I said at the start of the show, I said individual errors have cost us, and then we went down this rabbit hole of why is that? Is it confidence? Why is it confidence? And you come down to the whole mentality thing. You've gone down to it doesn't matter what players we bring in. It seems to be a cultural thing at Spurs. But in essence, I'm just trying to establish what it is we're trying to do, and if our players are being set up in a way where it's making us make more errors than we should do. Are we asking our players to play riskier balls in particular areas? And is it down to game state? I know already you're saying I get it. But anyway, forget all of that. I was going to talk through quickly what I saw from when I rewatched it. And I saw where we set up was in a 4-4-2 block when we didn't have the ball. So you can see that I've drawn the lines. So you can see we're in a back four. The two up front was obviously Moani, and you've got Xavi sometimes going as the secondary striker, and sometimes it was Bergvall, but more time it was Xavi. So I'm just bringing it back a second. Can I bring it back? That's the stats, as you can see. We had a higher expected goals. I know people don't like that stat. We had less of the ball, though, but big chances were equal 2-2. 15 shots to their 8 shots total. Anyway, I wanted to get back to this triangle because you can see 39 is Moani. Spurs is in the blue on the left-hand side. Liverpool's on the pink on the right-hand side. On that left-hand side, you can see Xavi at the top of that kind of triangle. Like, you've got Bentancur, number 30, in between Mickey Van der Ven and, Romero and Porro. Romero being 17, Porro being 23. To the right of Xavi, you can see Kudos. So they're playing quite close to each other. So in my head, there should be some type of relationship and there shouldn't be as many mistakes because these are two players that we rely on. On the left-hand side, you can see Van der Ven, but to the up left, you've got Spence, 24, and then you've got Archie Gray, number 14. Right in the middle is
Poor Archie. I'm against it, but that's what's he doing there? If that's tactically what he's being asked to do, no wonder why he had a poor game.
So between them, these are the average positions, by the way. This is not
yeah. I know what you mean, but for me, the reason why I'm saying that because I'm the biggest hater against Archie Gray as it is. I'm one of the biggest on the internet. But if I'm seeing Archie Gray tactically in that position, for me, that Frank's doing something wrong because you can clearly know when you see Archie Gray play, he should be nowhere near where he is. He should be doing what he done against Brentford, and there's a couple other games that are thrown in there.
Well, are you suggesting that Archie Gray should be closer to Benton Core then? Well, not closer, but
because
should be towards the left. Is that what
exactly? Yeah, because we're looking at triangles here and patterns of play. If they're nowhere near each other, and that's where Benton Core is, who the hell is Benton Core playing it to?
Right. Well, this is it because he had a whole week to set up, and that was the crux of the show when we started. You said, Ash, he's had a whole week to figure this out. What are we seeing? And I'm just this isn't golden that this is just I'm just showing.
That's only 9 players.
I mean, do you know what that's showing? That's showing exactly what Fergus said, and we've sort of alluded to all together. We play off the right, and if that don't work, we go back again.
Yeah.
I'm not expected to do anything off the left. That's exactly what it's showing. It's just showing an overload on that side. We try and do it. If we can't, then we'll win the ball back and try and do it again.
If we're looking at average positions of the players across the game in a match that we played most of it with less men, that's not going to be the best example of how his team would typically set up. I think this is such an anomaly of a game, 10 and 9.
And context is key here, 100%. And that's why I didn't want to spend too long on it. But it was just going to have a little framework to see how we were on the day, what position, what player was where they could have been or where they should have been. Here, again, this is within the first 30 minutes. So again, take this with a pinch of salt. You can see that they're building out with 5 players, and we've got 5 players to go man for man. You can see I've circled 5 players there. And so with our press, I wouldn't say it's not aggressive, but I wouldn't say it's ultra aggressive. If it was ultra aggressive, we'd have maybe a 6th man. I'm not criticizing. I'm just observing at the moment. That's how many men we've committed to the particular press at that particular time of the game. Here again, I've shown in possession, it's a 2-3-5, meaning we've got 5 attackers in there in the final third, the 3 midfielders in front, and then Van der Ven and Romero on the ball. So we're quite aggressive here, in my opinion. We're quite front-footed. We're committing a lot of bodies forward. We've only got 2 defenders at the back. So this is reminiscent towards more like as an Ange ball, because we used to play with, as Marlon, the rest defense was always a 2. Sometimes, though, we do dip into a 3 at the back when Porro joins the other 2. And sometimes we're a 3-2, and that means we've got 1 man less in the center of the park, which means we can't always control central areas at times. Anyway,
just quickly on that, Ash, before you change it.
Yeah, go on.
And this I'm linking this to the mistake that Romero did.
Yeah.
If you go to our previous picture, how many options does he have? And he's even got his hands up. He's like, where do I pass the ball? Because I'm not passing it to Van der Ven again. And when players are constantly asked to play the killer balls, the only person showing really, Xavi's trying to show, but he's behind the man, easily marked. The only real pass he's got is that hospital pass, try and set Moani in. Or to go to square.
In front of him.
You pass it to the 3 players in front.
Pass it back and then go for a 1-2.
It's only coming straight back.
Yeah, but that's still, you said, who does he have a pass to? He has 3 players that he can pass to.
Where's their next move?
But
that's the thing. It's like that's a situation. It's pass and move. So those 3 players should take the ball off him and spin in behind. And so therefore, it's like, again, I bring it down to, with those 3 players,
Porro, Archie Gray, and Bentancur.
Yeah, I'm thinking, as football players, if we've all played football and we see that, what are we doing? We're running towards a player that offers ourselves position to get the pass.
I'm trying to make an angle, by the way.
Right. So you were. But what I'm basically saying, individually as a football player, even when we played at five-a-side or played at amateur, we were told help your teammates, move for your teammates, create angles for the pass. So if the players, I really don't think that the coaches are not working on that, because we've seen it. There's video evidence of players moving triangles and 1-2 passes. It's just for some reason when they cross that line, it all gets forgotten about, and it's a sportual thing. It's like a boxer who can train. It's like a boxer. It's like a boxer who can train for 6 months, and his manager and his coach drills it into him. As soon as that bell rings, he forgets all about it.
I don't think players will forget about it. I really
don't.
No,
but you don't think that because you really want to blame Frank for everything.
We've seen these players play before, and like we said, national teams.
We've seen them play before. Yes, we've seen them play before. But
the manager needs to be stronger then.
But that's
he
the
needs
thing,
to stop playing the players
right?
if
when
they're not listening.
When these players play good in the matches that they have played good, how come no one praises Frank?
Oh, I did praise Frank once.
So Frank goes, guys, right? You played really well in that match. You see, in the next match, I want you to play shit. I want you to not offer yourself
not at all, because then he changes it to suit the team that he's playing against. But in this, if I can just quickly explain what I'd want to see in this, the easy way to break this line is not passing it to your 3-man midfield. What I want to be seeing is Bentancur put a little bit left. Bergvall drops into the next to the ref there. That ball goes into him. He's got Xavi spinning off the defender, and he can foot in Kulu, and he's facing goal.
I get what you want to see, but those players are on the pitch. They should be able to do that by looking up and doing that.
But we don't live in that era of football anymore. They're all robots.
That's the problem then. That is a huge problem, because
when we're talking about the whole scope of football,
if we live in an age where players are now robotic and have to be told step by steps, we might as well have. Frank might as well clone himself in a mini little pocket and have them in their ear.
But he does do that though. He does do that because before he does a sub, he has him standing up 15 minutes with a clipboard.
Because he's exactly. So he's doing that. He's telling them what to try and do. And if the players cross that line and don't do it, how can you say it's Frank's fault? That's like you telling your work colleague to do something, explaining it to him, he does it in a completely different way, messes it up, and then he's blaming you.
If any player does that, they shouldn't be playing the next game.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't have an option.
I'm sorry, he does, because he can rotate more players.
These players keep making these players, even if they get rotated, keep making the same thing. Because, like we've talked about, it seems that right now, when these players, especially not just with Spurs, players know that they can play bad because all they care about is their statistics and their G scores. So I might not have played good. What are you talking about? I made 95% passing rate. I made this. Players care more about stats. So I think it's not a Frank problem. It's not a manager thing.
Before you respond, Christian, I just want to hear what George has got to say.
Of course.
Just a couple of bits, like looking at that clip here. So that point that I made about Carrick and Modric and Dembele, if Archie Gray, that's Archie Gray right in the middle, right? If Archie Gray, there is any of those players, you feel confident playing that ball and him coming out, facing the right way and initiating something. So this is my personnel issue with this, where I feel that the manager has a bit of a tough gig because he simply doesn't have the personnel to microwave his way through that process. He has to calibrate it because there's no one person who's going to bail him out. Every single one of those managers had that metronomic midfield player that meant that they didn't have to finally calibrate it on the training ground. They didn't. And there was a big difference in our performance when those players played and when those players did not. Yeah. And that's the thing that really stands out with the profile of midfielder we've got now. Lucas Bergvall is the only one who I think if you develop him physically, tactically, just age, he's very young, he could potentially become that player. None of the others have that skill set. They don't have that skill set where they can receive it with their back to goal and in seconds be facing the other way and directing traffic. We don't have that player. We simply don't.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of those profiles left in the world.
Well, Spurs,
they're so expensive when you get them.
Sure. And I gave you a relatively budget example of that in Ruben Neves, right? Somebody who can do that. He won't do that at the level of the three I mentioned, but he'll do it at level that's significantly higher than anyone we've got at our club, and it will change the flow of that midfield. I promise you. Yeah. In terms of the this thing about the movement, freedom of movement of in the front line, I remember Pep. It was Thierry Henry actually interviewed Thierry Henry years back, where he said at Barcelona, everything in the first phase and the second phase is absolutely drawn up. Like there's nothing. It's like an NBA basketball play. Everything is chalkboard in those first 2/3, but nothing in the last third is. You have total freedom. Pep says, my job is to get you into the third phase, and it's your job from that point onwards. And that almost became a kind of mantra for a new generation of football managers, from the guys who are brilliant to the ones who you're maybe less like wowed by, like Thomas Frank. The way they set up their team is very much with a, we'll draw up how we get up the field, but in the last third, it's up to you. So that is where I agree. I'm sorry, I haven't got all the names yet. And Oren. That is where I agree that final third, that's the initiative. That's where a striker comes into his own with movement. That's where the creative 10 or whatever anticipates what's going to happen before they receive the ball. They're already thinking about that next pass before they get it. This is a relatively static front line we've got right now, and that comes from, sorry, what was that?
This is after the halfway line.
I know. No, we're in their half. I mean,
Liverpool are in a low block.
We're in their half. This is my point.
This is what I was.
This is my point. One turn and we're in.
Yeah. So I do want to respond, Christian. So I feel like I cut you off.
No, I think Orin was spitting face. I do agree with him in terms of the players need to work it out.
Yeah.
And I'm a big advocate of that. But I can't put it on the players when they must be doing what the manager's asking when we've been seeing it for 20 plus games. That's my only argument.
Hold on, Oren, before you can answer back. And the reason why I'm going to agree with Christian on this, and I'm going to just give you a point. If they weren't doing what he was asking, why does he keep playing the player Bentancur every single game, and why is it Paulinho got dropped? If it's not what he's asking, like you said, he's always had an option when it comes to his midfielders this season. That's where he's had the options, but he always seems to keep it to the same. And as you're saying, if he's not telling them those instructions, they're the free that in that midfield was the two positions where I believe he can do the most rotation if they're not doing what he's asking them. Correct or not?
Yeah. Because Bentancur is meant to be more technical and meant to be able to put passes over the top, but Bentancur doesn't.
Exactly.
Because he chooses not to.
So what do you guys think of this position?
Bentancur chooses not to. There's plenty of times Bentancur had the ball and he could have skated around the corner. Bentancur is capable. When he first came to Spurs, he was able to pass that ball. That's what he was bought for.
Oren,
but he doesn't do it.
Oren, I'm agreeing with you, but the problem, the thing that I'm asking you the question of, so why does Frank keep playing him if it's not what he's supposed to be doing?
Because Paulinho, I think, is maybe too aggressive for Liverpool games and probably end up getting booked, and so that will create discipline issues. But
it's not just Liverpool. We've seen it over the last couple of weeks.
Paulinho's a worse passer than Bentancur. Paulinho does some things incredibly well, but he's not a deep line passing football player. This is why Bayern had no idea what to do with him.
Why do we forget about other players we got?
But we've got other players who can pass.
You
don't have to play Bentancur. This is
like
the question.
Sure.
What other player?
For this game,
he's playing RT Gray, and he's not good enough. He played Brooksville. He's not good enough.
Is it
That's
so?
I don't know. I don't know if, to be honest, I don't know if Paulinho can play the number of games we've got at the moment post injury. I think they have to be a bit careful with him. To be fair.
No, but again, this is when we're looking at this game in isolation. I get why Paulinho maybe not started, and Sar's obviously gone to AFCON. Like I get that, but the whole argument is for the whole season we've seen Bentancur, and we keep mentioning the same things.
The manager has said after many games where I thought we were absolutely toilet, that he was happy with the performances and that players were doing all right in all but the final phase. He said they were doing well, so he's been fairly happy with the midfielders numerous times this season.
And when you look at what he's been doing, no matter how much, even though we've not had the players in the final third, they've probably had the most rotation apart from Kudos, where he's tried so many different things because he can clearly see it's not working. So my question, that's why I go back to Oren and go, if Bentancur's not doing what he's saying, why does Bentancur is he the first name on that team sheet?
Because
is he the first name on that team sheet? How many more games has Bentancur played than Paulinho this season? It's 2, isn't it? Like, they're quite close in appearances.
If you take away Paulinho not starting at the back as well for a few games, I think Bentancur's played them more.
No, I think he has played more, but not much more. I think it's pretty.
Yeah, but every time
tough.
he's got the choice. But when Frank's got the choice of his whole midfield, when he's had Gray, Bergvall, Sarr.
Maybe not as robust, but he's good at defending. But that's what I'm saying. It's like when it comes to attacking, he just doesn't want to do it.
But why?
He's not been the same. He's another one who hasn't been the same post injury. He's never been the same. He was unreal the season before he did his knee ligament.
Yeah, it could be that as well, because I remember it was after the Chelsea game when Bentancur went to go backwards and pass, and the fans booed. So he quickly turned around and he started passing forward again. So again, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I get what you're saying, Marlon, that yes, as a manager saying, right, I want you to hold your position. Don't pass if it's too risky, but it doesn't mean don't pass at all. And that's what I'm trying to.
But my theory, in that theory, I'd go, okay, you're not doing what I'm saying. I don't care who we're playing in the next game. I'm starting another midfielder to put you on that bench, because we've had the options to go, this is what I'm trying to ask you to do. Whether it works or not, that's a totally different thing. But you have to keep them on their toes. But with Paulinho, and I get Paulinho can't pass the ball or not. For me, I'd go, all right, I'm going to put Paulinho in there, and then I'll go and put a Bergvall probably next to him just to make sure, because Bergvall can pass, or Archie Gray, because they supposedly can pass, but you've got to take him out of the team. He's had options, but for some reason, I like Bentancur, but I believe he should have been dropped so many times, because in what you're saying, you're absolutely correct. He hasn't been doing it.
It could be also be like I said. I think Paulinho is a robust midfielder.
Yeah, I know what I'm going to get from Paulinho.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
It's a risk in a way for Frank. It's a risk versus reward, because Paulinho would have been biting, got booked, creates a problem, whereas Bentancur doesn't ever get booked. Very rarely.
Also giving away the free kicks in potentially in dodgy positions, which you'd be worried about.
Like Bentancur, again, I just think that if you're paid that much money to play football, you should have some initiative to when to do the right things. And I'm seeing, and this is not just under Frank, we've seen it. Players have made bad decisions when it comes to crossing.
Everyone has said the modern day footballer, and Ash used the prime example earlier of Pep Guardiola. Just go watch the Manchester City documentary on Amazon. Them players are not allowed to think for themselves. He literally tells them to do exactly what they're supposed to do. Hence the reason why Jack Grealish didn't work. Because now he's gone to Everton, David Moyes has gone, no, we need you to be creative. We need you to think for yourself.
And I think that's why Kudus was so good under David Moyes too. He was like, be yourself. Go and do what you want to do.
Don't be robotic. Go think.
He never tracked back ever for them.
No, never. And I think that's what we're going away from. I look, for me, David Moyes is not the best manager in the world, don't get me wrong. But he knows when he's got someone as a creative spark as Grealish, Kudus, and players like that, he allows them to be free. He wants them to make decisions, which they go and do.
He's got that old school mentality that new coaches don't have.
But when you see Pep, and everyone will go, but Pep's bought it, and he's got players who are going to be a bit more intelligent, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, they are told, and they are so robotic at Manchester City, hence the reason why Haaland works.
They might be robotic in the sense of where to run and where to be, because Pep sees a bigger vision as a manager. But those players still have to know when to make the pass. They still have to know when to make that run. They still have to know when to.
Yeah, but they've been struggling with that for the last. Yeah, but they've been struggling because they haven't got Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes, I know they haven't.
And Mamouche and Shirky are just starting to feel their way. Well, not Mamouche because he's been injured, but Shirky's starting to feel his way.
The thing is, it's like managers can only give you the platform and say, right, this is what I want you to do. And the player can do that, but he can also know when not to do that and when to do it, when to make a run, when not to make a run. That, like, we saw under Angie what happened when he said, right, I want you to play with freedom. We saw what happened. That wasn't a nice experience. So yes, players have to be, it's like, I look at it not so much as a programming, but discipline. So be disciplined, but you can break rank if you feel it's good.
Yeah, but let's take Forest. Let's take Forest for a second with the whole manager situation. Forest, when they were defensive under Nuno, then players knew what to do. As soon as they got Ange and they went all attacking, all of a sudden they couldn't play. And then all of a sudden, Sean Dyche brought them back to how they were last year. Suddenly they can play again.
Yeah,
it's very difficult once they get set in a certain way of playing to evolve away from that
tonight.
drastically.
Don't know if you watch Forest tonight. They look terrible tonight.
Yeah, but overall they've improved.
Since what they 3 defeats in 11 since.
But the thing is, like
they've
I've said,
the thing. They've never had European football for years. They've got European football. Their players aren't used to that. Frank's never had European football. No one can tell me his lack of experience in European football hasn't been a challenge for him, a massive one this season, because he hasn't had the time in between each game. And that's what the Forest players are used to as well. They used to have in 7 days, we get a break, we can tactically prepare, drill it, then on the field you do it. And that's the problem sometimes with pragmatic managers. Conte had the same problem. He's a better manager than any of the guys that we're talking about now. He needs serious time on the training pitch, because he is one of the worst when it comes to making it robotic for players. You do exactly what I say or you're done.
Quick thing before I forget, with Bentancur, you're mentioning how when he first joined Spurs, he started off great and he had that really good goal scoring record in the second season. I think you forget what that midfield was. He was practically the attacking midfielder in that midfield. It was Skip and Højbjerg. It was that they were behind him. He was the tip. He was.
He's lost the burst. Do you know what I mean?
I agree, but he literally doesn't get in the box anymore. Whereas before,
I think he's afraid to go for it like he used to.
It's very Scott McTominay, but the other way around, right? He is now being asked to do what he was asked to do at Juventus. He's very much a holding guy. That's not the position he played at Spurs, and this is
what Juventus moaned about. When you look at their fans when we signed him, this is exactly what they moaned about.
They didn't rate him.
Yeah, so you're probably spot on where Scott McTominay
they let's be fair, they didn't rate
win the league though.
They're used to Pirlo, Arturo Vidal.
Yeah, I get that.
Let's remember what they're used to. So they've got an ego behind them.
Yeah.
Right? Benta can do a job, but ultimately it comes down to profiling. He's always been an 8. He's always been sort of a moving, pass and move, taking the easy option, just keeping the ball moving. He doesn't want to hold on it too much. And ultimately it worked the best under Conte because that's what he wanted him to do. Press high, get around. I don't think the injury, I think people overplay it a bit too much. I think that injury stops you from maybe galloping around the pitch. I think he still does that. What he's most likely be scared about is going into challenges. We're not seeing that, right? We're not seeing that. It shouldn't affect how you pass the ball. And again, that's why I can't blame him. I think players like him are asked to do too much. Pedro Porro practically play every game, even if they're on the bench, they come on. So they're going to get a bit tired. You look at screenshots that we've seen 3 back-to-back, and I hate all of them. This is arguably the worst one. This upsets me.
Can we talk about this clip here in the actual screen right now, and just get your thoughts on, because we're talking about positional awareness, positional players knowing where to be, decision making. Like, does anyone want to go and talk about this particular pattern of just actual, scene here?
I can't see a single person offering him a safe ball there. He's literally just got to put one over the top because there's a sea of red around all of our options.
But at what stage is this?
This is before the goal.
This is the goal. This is the goal.
This is the goal.
Van de Ven's next
on
to
his
him when
wrong
he's
foot
left
as well.
Yeah.
The problem you've got is if he goes to Van de Ven, there's Spence on that side, and that's it. You look at again. I go back to this. Must be what the manager's asking, because as soon as Romero, and the reason why I say that is because of what I see in this screenshot. Or Romero's picked up the ball. Moani knows to run in behind. Bentancur's even telling him to go for that pass.
Yeah. You can see his arms. They're telling him.
Bentancur's telling him to make that pass. Now the difference.
Did Frank tell Moani to raise his arm as well? Did he go?
No, Moani, because Moani's making the run, so that must be trained. It must be trained. Otherwise, why would you make the run?
He's a striker. Of course it's trained. That's what you want to do.
Moani's a striker that doesn't run behind. You watch Moani, Frankfurt, he drops in and links up. He's not that striker.
Play the ball in behind, and he's going to have a go. So is that Frank's fault or is it the manager? Whose fault is that?
No, the fault is the pass.
The pass is the problem.
The pass is the problem.
But
ultimately, he's got, apart from playing it safe to Van de Ven, that's what he's been asked to do, is make that pass. Now, the difference is most centre-backs who do not back themselves go way over the top, right? Romero backs himself. We've seen it plenty of times. So he tries to thread that through with a bit of punch and not go in too high where the defender can just head it or the keeper comes out and collects it.
So
that's where he's over. This is where Romero gets the blame because he's overconfident.
So he took a risk.
He took a risk, but I'm not going to complain for that because us as a fan base, we've been saying with risk averse, the manager doesn't take any risks.
So
then when the player does do it, we want to say he's shit.
So the player does it, but you're saying, so what are you saying? Because you said it was Frank.
No. So in terms of the start setup, I didn't like where the midfield was. Right,
but this is
and
not
the pass. The pass must be set up to be played like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out.
This is 10 men. This is after.
Yeah, we're down to 10 men at this point.
So we're down to 10 men. Fine. So we're down to 10 men, and then you've got 3 players all on one side of the pitch. What setup is that?
Yeah, but is that so? You're saying that's Frank's fault? Surely that's those 3 players who've all been drawn over that side of the pitch.
But
do you think Frank? Do you think Frank from the other side went 3 guys stay over there? No, those 3 guys have been drawn to the ball, and now they've caught out position.
But the ball, we had the ball, and it came back to a centre flag. Why are they not breaking the neck to get back in position?
Because that's them. That's the players. They're not breaking the neck. They're not sprinting back. They should be, as I said before, if you're a football player getting paid the amount of money and you're playing for that team, you're bursting up gut to get back. Every team that has beaten Spurs, every single team that we've watched and admire, PSG last season in the Champions League, they had the silky skill. But what was admired most was every single one of those players run for each other, pass and move. They covered for each other. That's what Pochettino. Those 3 players stood and just watched. That's not the manager's fault.
Even that, Oren, if it was 3 players that are meant to be at that side, tactically, I could understand. But there must be some kind of manager intervention.
You cannot.
There is no way. I'm sorry, right?
They have all been attracted to the ball.
There is no way Bergwijn, who was meant to be playing on the left side of the midfield, got attracted all the way to the right.
I'm telling you, but you're so obsessed with blaming Frank for everything. Those 3 players have been drawn to the ball. And they're not making an effort.
I'd like to see the whole. I'll watch it back, but I can't see how Bergwijn, who started on the left, has managed to get dragged that far across.
They have, because they're all like whatever they're trying to offer themselves for each other. If you look at that triangle, the ball gets passed back, and so now they should be making an effort to help each other out, but they're not. That's my point I'm trying to make.
When does the manager take the blame? When you've got from the last 10 games, you're 17th in the league.
No, that's the thing. The manager always gets the blame. The manager always gets the blame.
Because you can't get rid of 23 players,
It's really weird. Manager comes in. Some Spurs don't like him, so they'll say he's not good enough. Some Spurs will. Then after a while, if the team underperforms, the manager's fault, he gets sacked. Then the club will bring in a manager that some fans want, and some fans go, okay. 6 months later, he gets sacked. It's a history of Spurs managers getting sacked. Then when they're sacked and we're looking for a manager, the same fans you were saying, Frank out will be saying, we need a manager who will look back. You'll need a manager who can give him time. 6 months later, Spurs are in the blip. Let's sack that manager. When does it end?
Blip, not a blip?
No, but that's the issue. That's the issue we've had, right? Conte wasn't sacked. He walked. Right, he had personal issues, whatever it was. At the end of the day, he got us in 4th, and we was more or less fighting for the same spot when he left.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is,
Mourinho should have never been sacked, right? And the fan base can now put their hands up and say it was a mistake for us to push that. Push that.
What? Who?
Mourinho.
Of course, Mourinho was playing boring ass football. If that was during COVID as well.
Results.
Right, so there's the point. So you'd rather play boring football and get results.
Sorry. Mourinho wasn't
you're the representation of fans who just
Mourinho got us to a final. How is that not results?
See, here's
Mourinho got us to a League Cup final.
League Cup final? Oh, come on. Are you going to bring that up? League Cup final.
What else have we got to cheer about? Come on. What else have we got to cheer about?
George Graham and Ramos won the League Cup, and we're both
I remember him very well.
months. Like it doesn't.
You're thinking, oh,
Ramos gave me one of my best days for a very long time until
But that's
the
my-
Europa League.
that day very much.
I'm not
so
going to
right,
hold it
so,
against him.
so you're saying Ramos, who won the League Cup, then was sacked after 10 games, gave you the best one in your life over Angie, who won the Europa League
I
Cup.
said
Who
up
said
to
that?
until Europa League.
Right.
Until the Europa.
That's the level of expectations then. So League Cup. So we're going way back in time. What happened to those managers? They all got sacked. Why did they get sacked? Because the players were underperforming. And then we started over
To be
again.
fair to Ramos, though, he was hamstrung because he had Berbatov and Keane, and was it I can't remember who the other third strike was, but he had a
He
strike.
had Darren Bent. He ended up with Darren Bent and Fraser
Lost-
and
Campbell
Darren Bent,
and Pav.
Pavlyuchenko, and then everyone expected him to go and miraculously do well. So
Fraser Campbell and
yeah,
And those
Fraser
players
Campbell,
wanted-
yeah.
those players wanted
So
to
he
go.
was always going to get the sack, and I know Harry
they
Redknapp
sold.
came in and changed it.
By
But
the way, this is the incident before the ball gets played to Romero. So Kudus has the ball and he's dribbled it up to this point. And
this
that's
was
why you're-
Kudus' fault, wasn't it? This when he was walking.
So he's basically dribbled with the ball up to this point.
Yeah, because he's now asking for help.
On the
isn't
ball
he?
outside of a box.
Yeah.
And he's dribbled it. And Bergwijn had the ball originally. He's given it to Kudus. Kudus has dribbled out to this point. And then you can see another midfielder running towards this particular area. So that's the reason
Bentancur.
why. Yeah, Bentancur, sorry. Bentancur's run towards the ball to create, an overload on this side because this is where the ball is. So that's the reason why there's a cluster of players on that right-hand side, just for context, just to let you guys know why,
So it was Kudus that messed this up.
No, Frank.
I'm not saying
Because Frank is standing there. So Frank said to Kudus, right, I don't want you to pass that. I want you to pass it backwards.
Warren, you're taking that rhetoric far too far.
That's
You're taking
what
it
You
far
all
too
play
That's what
far.
I'm here to
silly
do.
when it
You
comes to
play,
stuff.
like that's how you sound, Christian. Everything we talk about when it comes to players, you're always looking to pinpoint it back to Frank, and that's
Because I'm looking at a screenshot and I'm looking at the way players are set up.
yes.
That's
And again,
all I'm
you're
looking
blaming
at.
back to Frank,
If
even
we're-
though this is you cannot just admit that this is 55 minutes. This is Spurs playing for 10 men, and those players have chosen to run that way. Once Kudus has lost the ball, they then chose not to go back. That's not the manager.
Can I?
God, dude.
That screenshot there, you're going to see that over and over again with Kudus for the reasons I talked about before. He commands a double team, and the only way out of that double team is for us to give him help, right? So he's going down the touchline, coming up against his fullback, coming up against their defensive midfielder. We were arguing before that our players are not getting close enough to him.
No.
So that's exactly what you see in many, many screenshots. So in isolation, it looks like disorganization, but actually within the context of the game, they're providing him with the support that might get him out of a tough spot.
But they were at 10 men as well, so it was a bit
Exactly.
more challenging for
Basically,
them too.
and here's the thing: Kudus should pass it to Bergville and then make a run beyond him to try and get that overlap. But he passes to Bentancur and he just stands there. He doesn't make a run. And again, you can say it's the manager's fault, but I say, as a player, I would say, right, I've got the pace and ability to make that run to get him behind. He's capable
So
of doing
any
it.
manager that ever gets sacked, is it always the player's fault?
Not always.
By your
no.
logic.
Not always, no. Not always.
But that's the logic you're using at the moment.
I think
No, I'm not using that as logic. I'm using it when it comes to Spurs because it's like even before a manager comes in, it's already we don't like him. I'm like, well, your manager doesn't have to be your mate or your friend.
No,
It's
but
like-
a lot of people
Football's
like
a game
Frank.
of opinions too.
Yeah.
Yes, it
People
is.
are
It
allowed
is a
an
game
opinion.
of opinions, but it's just like, your opinion is that it's manager's fault. My opinion that some players need to take responsibility and stop blaming the manager for everything.
That's two separate conversations.
No, it's not two separate. It's the same
No,
conversation.
it is two separate conversations.
No, it's the same thing.
If we had a conversation based on how good is our squad, I would probably sit here and admit that we probably need to make 5, 6, maybe even 7, 8 signings.
That's the thing, though.
Right?
You're always going to be
No,
saying
but
that.
there is no way that
You're
I'm
always
looking at the
saying-
way we're playing for 20, 30 games and not saying that the tactics couldn't be better and that this manager can't get an extra 20% out of what he's got in front of him. Ultimately, he's the manager. He needs to take responsibility. And he has come out in
But he will
numerous
take
press
responsibility.
conferences
He will take
when we've been bad and said, I've actually quite liked that performance. So he's taking the ownership himself.
Yeah.
So if he's taking the ownership, he needs to take the blame.
Yeah, so he will. He will take the blame, and you'll get what you want because he'll probably get sacked, and you will be jumping for joy. And then the new manager comes in.
He's got the lowest points per game of any Spurs manager over the
I get
first
what you're
17
saying.
games, even lower than Christian Gross. So
I get
he
what you're
has to
saying.
take some of it on
But he
board
is.
too.
That's what I'm
You're
trying to tell you.
negating
You're both not getting the point. Every manager will always get the blame because they will get sacked. Every manager will get sacked. That's the nature of the game. Yeah, it is the nature of the game. But then when is it the nature of the game where players have to take responsibility as well? Because everyone talks about this. You can't keep sacking managers and then bringing new ones in, and then we need to rebuild, and then we need to rebuild, and then we need more rebuild. It's just so tiring.
I agree. It
really is.
I said, the club needs to start behaving like grown-ups. We're like that guy who just can't settle down, you know? Break up. Like, just settle down, grow up, right? Let me have a...
You need to settle down with the right woman.
Yeah, that's the question. That's the question. Yeah. No, that's the question for George. You're saying that's the right thing. Is Thomas Frank the right woman?
Okay, let me give you an example of the right woman. Let me give you an example of the right woman. I think we all agree that the best woman in the last 10, 15 years was Poch, right? We all agree, right? That Poch was pretty much the most successful Spurs manager. He was your woman, right? I'm just going to go through Poch's first 10, 12 matches for Spurs as I remember them, yeah? Feel free to correct me. So feel free to correct me.
They were better than Frank's.
Well, I'm talking about performance.
Like Frank. Let's get it.
I'm just being honest.
So let's not remember the context. He probably had Jamie O'Hara, Nabil Bentaleb, and all these guys.
I can tell you his first window, and this is context, and this should count. Fazio, Benjamin Stambouli, DeAndre Yedlin, Vaughan,
where we are now.
Ben Davis.
Yeah.
Great. Compare that to what Frank got for his first window, and there's quite a difference.
Sure. We can do that bit after. Let's go through the results and performances as we remember them, and then please tell me if I'm remembering these games wrong. Okay. So first one, pretty dreadful, turgid game against West Ham. No, we won it right at the end.
It was Eric Dyer.
But it was terrible. The game was dead. It was very similar to a lot of the matches we played this season. Next match, a really impressive 4-0 home win against QPR. That's probably kind of similar to what we did against Burnley in the first match this season. Pretty bad QPR team. Next game, we get thrashed by Liverpool 3-0. Next game, 2-2 away at Sunderland. Next game, we lose at home to West Brom. Next game,
we never beat West Brom with Poch though.
They were like our bogey.
So far, it's 1 win and 5 against QPR. Yeah. Then 1-1 draw away to Arsenal. Impressive. Next, 1-0 win against Southampton. Next, 4-1 loss against Man City. 2-1 loss against Newcastle. 2-1 loss against Stoke. And then a 2-1 win against Villa when Harry Kane scored the deflected one. So that's 2 wins in the first 11. Now, I'm just, I remember those games being pretty dreadful, right? Pretty dreadful in performance. The results speaking for themselves there, 2 wins in 11, right? He went on to be pretty damn effective for the club.
There's one difference, though.
Can I just?
There's lots of differences. I'm just giving you that in isolation.
No. There's a massive difference because back then, our expectation of what we are paying for was a lot. We weren't at the same threshold. We wasn't competing. We wasn't doing this. We wasn't doing that at the time when Poch took over. So we were more likely to have more patience. Now
we'd also come off a diabolical situation with the
Tim Sherwood
AVB Sherwood. The whole vibe around the club was we didn't win. We hadn't won a trophy, but we hadn't won a trophy in the Champions League.
He finished 17th. He finished 6th.
Yeah, but we just won the trophy though.
Let's be real. Talking amongst ourselves about the we just won a trophy stuff. We know that trophy is nothing like as complicated a thing to win as some of the things that we didn't win, right? I'm not going to belittle what we did against Eintracht Frankfurt, what we did against Bodo Glimt. Two of those teams in the Champions League this season. So for sure, we were playing against good opposition. But the route to winning it was nowhere near as complicated as the route to not winning a lot of stuff that we didn't win, right? It wasn't. At
the end of the day, that was a moment that is a sliding doors moment. Because if we had lost that game, the whole outlook of the club is through the floor in the mud, right? We win it, we get Champions League football. That is the opportunity for the club to reset, to do something ambitious and do something big.
I agree.
And what did they do? They didn't really do it.
I agree.
Again.
But also, when you're talking about what the manager has inherited in terms of quality of player, where we're at as a club, that is what he's inherited. He's inherited a mixed thing, which is that we won a trophy, but we're also pretty damn terrible in other areas. What he inherited,
this squad's nowhere near as bad. Nowhere near.
This
let me just read Pochettino's first 11, and then let's see the depth here, right? Hugo Lloris started in goal. He went Cole Norton right back, Eunice Cabal, Eric Dyer, Danny Rose. Midfield was Etienne Capoue, Nabil Bentaleb, Christian Eriksen. And then he had Aaron Lennon, Eric Lamela, Adebayor.
Well, to me,
is that better than the 11 we've got now?
It's on par. Let's go through them player for player. That's on par. So Hugo Lloris, I think we will.
Hugo Lloris starts. None of the back four start.
He's better than Vicario.
None of the back four start. Danny Rose is a better left back than anything we've got at the club now.
Danny Rose became a better left back.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Danny Rose at that time was not
point.
Danny Rose at that time was better than anything we've got at left back.
No,
now.
he was not.
I'm standing by that. Danny Rose is a better
fair
left
enough,
back.
but he turned into a better player. But at that point, I disagree highly. Midfield, Capoue does not get in.
Capoue and Bentancur, very similar players. Very similar style, very similar attributes. There's not a big difference between Capoue and Bentancur. You might think there is because Bentancur's played for Juventus, whatever. There's really not a massive difference between those two players.
Would you say like Capoue is more, I don't know, like box to box?
Yeah, he's more.
No one can say what Capoue was.
He started as a defensive midfield.
He did better when he played in Spain than he did in England, to be honest.
He did. He started as defensive midfield.
He started as defensive midfield.
He was better in Spain. He was better in Spain.
Christian Eriksen is a different level.
He played well for Villarreal, but he wasn't much cop in England, to be honest.
Christian Eriksen is a different level from anything we've got in our midfield now. He was in that team you just named. Adebayor, his peak there, is better than anything we've got as a number 9 now. Aaron Lennon at his peak is not far behind what we've got now. Look, the teams are comparable.
Is Adebayor, when we had Adebayor, better than Kolo Muani?
Well, they're very similar styles.
That season, he was very moody and he wasn't really switched on.
That's what I'm saying. We got to look at what Poch inherited, not what their players either became or what they were. That's very disingenuous. Like at the time, what was that player? Capoue was awful. Nabil Bentaleb, is he even playing professional football anymore?
Well, no.
Carl Norton at right back was pathetic. Danny Rose was just breaking through, and Poch turned him in what he was. There was games, right, that he got in. He broke into the starting lineup, and I was sat in that stadium, and people were hounding him because Danny Rose did not know how to play that position at all. He was very poor, right? Nabil Adebayor was coming towards the end. Maybe Kolo Muani level, maybe I get that. Eric Lamela wasn't great. He worked hard, showed a lot of passion, but wasn't a great player. Outstanding players there.
Was he playing in a 10 at that position? Was he playing in the 10 or was he playing on left, Lamela?
No, he was playing off the right.
We're playing off the right.
Off the left, because you had Lennon off the right.
That means he would have been playing where you say Odebert or
in
that game was Bergvall.
Yeah, is Odebert right now anywhere near what Lamela was at any stage?
Not yet, no.
No, I wouldn't. I'd just say
I don't think Lamela was great.
I think Lamela is more of a cult hero.
I know you're looking at the first game, but when did Vertonghen come in? Because I believe Poch had Vertonghen.
No, he was already at the club. He was there.
He was at the club, so he just didn't play that game.
Yeah, he just didn't play that first game.
Okay, so
he had Dembele, but Dembele the first season, he didn't fancy him.
He didn't.
He was in and out a lot.
You've got a lot of players who are at the club. You didn't play this specific match that you've pulled out, including Moussa Dembele.
But interestingly, a lot of the players we're mentioning, he bombs out fairly quickly. He bombed out Capoue, Bentaleb. He bombed out Nasser Chadli. He bombed out a whole bunch of them. Norton.
Nasser Chadli played.
Because wasn't it that game against QPR where Dembele came in? That's when Dembele came in.
Because he wasn't happy with how fit Dembele was at one point, and then he really turned it around and was obviously. I mean, we could all see what a great player he was, but he turned into a beast.
Between
the two of them.
My point is,
So-
by the time you add Vertonghen and Dembele and some of the others who are not playing that game, I think Poch had at least as much to work with. But even if we disagree that it's a bit more one way than the other, that's not a good start. And over a period of time, he found his feet and ended up becoming a phenomenal manager for us. That's my point.
So
that was 10 games. This is 20.
If we lose against Palace,
yeah, that's where I was going next.
that's what I want to know. Like, do you think they have got a leg to stand on? Because like we're already behind Brentford as it stands right now.
That'll be one win in 9 if we lose that game. If we don't win that game, it'll be 1 win in 9.
Nottingham Forest lost today, which means Fulham go above us. They're now,
relegation.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're 14th now. So I think if we were to lose on the weekend, we have a possibility that we would drop down to 15th/16th. Dare I say it lower? Like, at what point would you say, like, okay?
So the question, I think, what the question is, and we'll go back to it, and we'll start with Oren and George. Is Thomas Frank the right man to be taking us forward as you see it right now?
If you ask me now that my choice is where to sign this piece of paper and he's our manager for the next 3 to 5 seasons, or we can walk out of it now, then I'm walking out of it now. But those aren't the options you're giving me. You're giving me the option of, is it now? Is it many years into the future? Or is it a little bit longer before you make up your mind? I need a little bit more of a sample size. I know for you guys, you've seen enough because you remember the Arsenal game, you remember the Forest game, you remember and there have been some dreadful performances in there. It's very easy to forget that when we beat Leeds away, they hadn't lost away. When we beat Everton away, they hadn't lost. Leeds hadn't lost at home. Everton hadn't lost at home. West Ham is a ground we don't normally win at, and we won there pretty handsomely. We started off the season with a good, solid win on the first day. A few days after a really heartbreaking setback against Paris Saint-Germain, he managed to get the guys' heads in place to get that result. We got a good result against Man City and a convincingly done 2-0 away win. 2. There've been just as many positives as rubbish and in the middle performances. I did it the other day, and it's literally a 3-way split. We've had about 6 performances that I like. We've had about 6 performances that I can barely remember, and about 6 that are some of the worst things I've ever seen. That means I don't know yet. I need a bit more of a sample size.
I'm not saying I want Frank out. But you've seen 6 good performances. Look, honestly,
yeah, I have.
Really?
I have. I'll run you through them. The first one, my favorite of all the performances, wasn't even a win. It was the 2-2 against Brighton. I liked how we played in that game. I think we should have won that game by a few, and it took a late.
We were so poor in that first half.
Yeah, well, they went
poor.
They went 2-0 up. I don't think the performance was as bad as that. And the second half,
if I remember that correctly, the performance was so bad in the first half. And yes, Vicario made the mistake. It was one point. I can't remember what happened in the second half. Is when we suddenly decided to look like a football team. But before that, I'm sorry, but we were poor against Brighton. The only game that I would say that we have been very good in this season was Manchester City away. The rest, even Burnley at home, we gave Burnley so many chances in that game that I remember saying if Burnley were a better football team, they'd end up scoring. And ever since then, we played exactly the same system, and every single team has gone on to score against us. I didn't get carried away with Burnley. You go back to it and
sure.
That's why Paris Saint-Germain away in the Champions League, I give him.
You like that performance?
It was a decent performance considering who Paris Saint-Germain were. Leeds away, we were good for about 20 minutes, and then we should have gone 1-0 down. We were terrible throughout the game, and we had 2 moments where we scored. Everton, we didn't create nothing. It was 2 set pieces. 2 set pieces. And this is why the performances have been and this is why I'm looking at it going, yes, I might have not seen a big sample size, but I'm also looking at what I saw at Brentford, and that's the big thing for me. And for me, once we had that Europa League win, Frank should never have been the choice for me, because if you're looking for a manager that needs more than 2 or 3 days to prepare for games, why the hell are you bringing in Thomas Frank? He's never proven it anywhere that his record in midweek games has been not great. And then, like you said earlier, one thing you said, He's played. I think it was you about that. He's never played in Europe before. This is new to him. So why in the world, as Spurs, I'm just putting it out there, why would you go for a manager that's never played in Europe? When at Brentford, whenever he had a midweek game to a Saturday game, majority of them he lost. It doesn't make sense.
So,
and then,
what was Pochettino's European experience like when we gave him the job?
But we didn't have Europe the first season. No,
yeah, but our ambition was to get it, and we got it.
There was a difference. There was a difference. We would not.
In fact, we did have Europe. We had the Europe.
But we didn't do very well in it. But the problem is,
but we were in it.
But the
So
problem is that this is what you got. When Poch came in, we wasn't the club we are today. There's a big difference, and that's why. And you talk about Poch, but Poch got to a point where Daniel Levy at the time thought, I don't want to do a rebuild. You've got a good enough team. I'm going to bring a winner in.
No, I get all of that. But purely back to that thing of giving the job to a manager.
Can I just add one thing, just to the point about Europe? This is not the same Europe as it was back in the day. This is a different Europe. This is a very strange structure with a lot more games. And then it's even more important that the person brought in had the experience to balance that and keep it going and ticking over. And that I was the one who said that didn't have European experience, and I thought that was a big mistake because we had that sliding doors moment. Look, if we finished 17th, we appointed him, I'll be like fine because he'd have 7 days to prepare for each game. But to bring in a guy with no European experience, with a squad that has had issues, with everything else, they gave him a really good window. But he was always going to struggle to balance Europe, Premier League, cups, and the board didn't help by talking about we want to be competitive in every competition, because like that's just an asinine suggestion unless they were going to spend £300 million.
Fair enough. I just put this on the screen because I thought it was interesting. Richarlison through on goal. What do you think he should do here next?
Score.
That'd be helpful.
Give a score.
Kick over the bar.
Give the ball away. Make a pass. Have a pint.
I can't believe it. Like, do you know what I mean? But apparently, what I'm hearing, obviously, it's not a credible source, but it's team talk. They're saying that they're looking to give Richarlison a new contract.
We might have to.
Yo, who's bringing the protest back? I'm down.
Mate, everyone used to say teams are getting relegated.
He's got the second best goal to game ratio in the league this season.
Okay.
I know no one cares, and I don't care, but it's just a fact, right?
No, I get that.
Christian, I just want to say one thing, mate, right? I was listening, right, boys, and I just want to say you contradicted yourself, man, because you said that someone on the panel was disingenuous for what they said about Pochettino's team. But you were being disingenuous because you actually weren't looking at what Pochettino had when he first came into the club, what he actually had at his disposal to already work with, regardless of the signings he made after. So when he was first at the club, when he first joined in 2014, I just went through the squad list. The squad is 10 times better than what we've got right now. I'd take that squad
the argument was the first 10 games.
Yeah, okay, but
so in terms of the whole season, I don't disagree.
I know, but how can you pinpoint 10 games of when Frank's only been here for 4 months and hasn't done anything to change the squad yet? And on top of that, I just want to say a few points, right? If you look at the keepers we had Hugo Lloris and Michel Vorm. Them two keepers get in above our keepers right now. I'm not even joking.
No, they don't.
Yes,
they restarts. Vorm doesn't.
Michel Vorm is better than. Well, if you're talking about backup keeper, Vorm is better than Kingski right now, and Lloris is better than Vicario.
Keeper.
So in terms of a pairing for backup keeper, they are better than what we have.
Well, we're not looking at starting 11s.
Right, but if you look at the rest of the squad, they had Jan Vertonghen already at the club. They also had Brad Friedel at the club as well, by the way. Right, they had Brad Friedel, Ben Davis, Fazio, Eric Dyer, Eunice Kabul, Michael Dawson was there.
Don't mention Fazio.
Kyle Walker was there. I know, but
I don't want to see that name ever again.
Kyle Walker was there. Danny Rose was already there. Right, you mentioned they brought in DeAndre Edlin. Capu was there. Benstev was there.
Stamboli.
Pele was there. Sandro was there. Paulinho was there. Ryan Mason, Tom Carroll. You had Harry Winks there. Christian Eriksen. You had Chadley, Eric Lamela, Lennon, Townsend, Harry Kane, Sadado, and Emmanuel Adebayor. I'd take that squad over what we've got right now.
Danny, how many of those players did Poch make good?
Yeah, but you're not getting.
No. How many of those players did Poch make good?
He made quite a few of them get good, but how?
Okay, so when you're talking about a first 10 games and saying he started off poor, you have to look at what he had disposal at the time, not what they became.
Right, that's not the point. You're missing the point, right? So if we're going to talk about what Thomas Frank has had at his disposal for the first 10 games, should we have a look at what he's actually had at his disposal?
Yeah, because you're not talking about what these ones are going to become, right?
Yeah,
so your point,
I'm not talking
like,
about what these.
Yeah, exactly. But you are with
I-
Poch, which is the point. Frank hasn't had an opportunity to turn one of these guys into an elite player.
Okay, so let me ask you this, right?
Also, Christian,
so was Tar not one of our best players when he first at the start of the season?
I'm not talking about what they turned into. I'm talking about what he had at his disposal to work with. What I'm saying is his squad is levels above what Thomas Frank has got to work with right now.
So in that midfield, right, is Carroll, Bentaleb, Capoue, right, better than Bergvall, Sarr?
Yes.
Tom Carroll.
Yes.
Wow. Come on.
Tom Carroll, Ryan Mason, Bentaleb.
Tom Carroll is not.
Tom Carroll was our squad player. He was a squad player. What's Bergvall's a squad player? Bergvall's our first team player right now.
He uses him as a squad player.
He wasn't at the start of the season.
Oh my God, this is like unbelievable. Like the fact that you actually think that we actually have better players right now than what we had then.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like, with what we're forgetting is that the first season under Poch, it all changed when he brought in Harry Kane, Son.
Harry Kane was already at the club already.
No, you know what I mean, into the team. Because what Poch decided to do, it was rip up the concept and go, right, I'm going to do what I did at Southampton. I'm going to make these players really fit and make them work for each other, make them run for each other. When Poch had that first the bad season and the second season, the 3 seasons that Poch had, or say the 2 seasons, every comment from managers opposing that team was, I can't remember who it was. I think Spurs hammered the team.
Yeah.
And he said,
Leicester at home when we lost 1-0 and Danny Simpson went on Sky and went, the game they hated the most was Tottenham, even though we beat them. This season they won the league.
Yeah. No, it was a manager. It was a manager who also said that all those players were like terriers. As soon as we got the ball, they were on us. They were all fighting for each other. That's what he did.
Yeah, but who said that? The manager or the players?
No, the manager. No, the manager.
No. But you're saying they all fought for each other, and whose tactic was that? Was that Poch or was that the players?
That was, I would say, both. Because when I would say the players, I would say no. Listen, because I know you're trying to catch me out. But I would say that it's the players more, because when those players needed Poch,
that's the players more, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. I'll tell you why. Because everyone thinks Poch is amazing and great, but he never won anything. And when he could have won something, he couldn't deal with the pressure. Chelsea game. Spurs needed a manager, not a friend. That Chelsea game, we all watched that Chelsea game. Spurs were 2-0 up, sung by Harry Kane and Son Heung-min. At Stamford Bridge.
Leicester, yeah. Leicester season.
No.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Yeah, the Leicester season, yeah. So basically, I was watching it and going, right, that game is losing. Those players are losing their heads. Poch should need to do something. And he didn't. He stood there with his arms folded. And I'm like, against Newcastle, when Spurs got hammered 5-1 to a relegated Newcastle team, he stood there, did nothing. So when I think about it more and more,
Newcastle team with 10 men.
Yeah, got hammered.
Newcastle played that game with 10 men, almost the whole thing.
In the big
Sissoko played like a machine.
Right.
So did Wijnaldum.
Ruined us.
Spurs were on bottom. And all Sissoko did was run up and down the pitch.
And then we bought him.
And Spurs went, that's the guy we need. Fuck tactics. Fuck magicalness. Like, we all talk about Lucas Moura, who would dribble and just dribble and dribble. He's like a Kudus. Like, that's who Kudus reminds me of.
He did have one hell of a day for us.
Yes, he did.
We'll never forget that.
And again, when I watched that match, we were all sitting there going, Poch, do something. And he didn't do anything. And then it was the players. It was Sissoko who hit the ball long. Dele Alli took control. So when I look at it, it's like, yes, the manager going to only take you too far. But when those players decide to take that step up, that's when
but
they
then
become a good
Poch
team.
came in to the club when we were completely dysfunctional after the AVB Sherwood thing. Like the players' confidence and everything was on their knees. There was all talk immediately. Weeks into him being at the club, there was a stories about they don't like the training and blah blah
exactly.
blah blah blah. and he changed the culture of the team enormously.
Yeah. But then
enormously.
towards the end, there was players complaining that the training was too much.
Towards the end, what happened was he wanted players gone. Levy wouldn't sell them, and we had 528 days without a signing.
Ultimately, though, right? If we got to link this to what we've got right now, right? We can have this Poch discussion all day because it splits so many different the fan base in so many different corners. Who wants him back? Who loved him and stuff? Do you know what I mean? But ultimately, the main question that I have for everyone here is: first 10 games or first 20 games of Pochettino, the results weren't great. But the main question is, could you see what he was trying to do?
No. I only saw it later, right?
We couldn't.
I've just ran through those games with you. Can you remember the game?
We went back through the results.
This is the thing. This is the funny thing that fans do, right? Fans like to forget the past, right? Because fans are fickle. They only like to look at the present and what's going on right now, and they actually forget what's happened in the past. If you look at what happened up until Harry Kane scored that free kick against Villa, right? A lot of the fans did not want Poch. They wanted him gone. A lot of them, right? Just like it was with Frank, just like it is with Frank right now. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I wanted to give him a chance because I could see little bits, right? You could see little bits.
But you could see the basics, DK, right?
You could see little bits, very little bits. And maybe you could see more with Poch than you can see with Frank right now, right? And by the way, I'm not saying that Frank's the right guy for the club. I'm just saying, but the biggest factor is right now. So when Poch took over, for me, just looking at that squad he had much more to work with than what Thomas Frank has got to work with right now. Because if we want to put context into it, right? Last season, right, our most creative outlets were Son, Dominic Solanke, Maddison, and Kulu, right? Every single one of those players has not been replaced with someone who can provide that kind of creativity with the amount of assists we've lost out on and the goals that have scored by those players, right? So when people say we haven't had a lot of shots and stuff like that and we're worse than Burnley, but if you look at who Frank has actually had to choose from, other than Kudus, if you actually compare with last season, Kudus is outperforming himself. Yeah, from last season, and Xavi Simons is a 22-year-old who's never played in the
£110 million worth of players. Come on, he's got to be doing better than he is.
Ferg, Xavi Simons, the truth is he's never played in the Premier League, and he's 22 years old, and he's a stick, right?
It's a myth.
No, that's the truth. It's the truth. Florian Wirtz has created more chances in the Premier League than any other player this season. Yeah, and he was one of the best creative outlets in Europe last year, right? But
he costs the same as the two of them.
Yeah, but he still created the most chances in Europe in the Premier League this season, more than Bruno Fernandes, right? But people want to get on his back because he's a record signing for Liverpool, right? So you have to use context, and the context is our creativity and our ability to score and create has been taken out the team. And you can't sit here and tell me that Odebear, Tell, Kudus and Richarlison are going to replicate what Son, Maddison, Dominic Solanke and Kulusevski offered us last season.
But why do we take Muani, Xavi Simons out of that section? Why do we mention Tell, Odebear and Richarlison?
First of all, Muani hasn't had a lot of game time because he's been injured majority of the season, right? He's only just started playing. And he needs a goal, but you can see that the player he's got a footballing ability. Whether he's a goal scorer or not is a different debate, right? We don't know if he's going to be a goal scorer because he's never really proven it at any level until he was at Stuttgart. Was it Stuttgart he came from before he went to Paris Saint-Germain? Frankfurt, right? So when he was at Frankfurt, that was the only time he had over 15 goals in a league season. Other than that, he hasn't done it. Right, so he's not proven as a goal scorer, and let's be honest, he was a panic buy because Solanke got injured. Right,
he got over 10 assists that year at Frankfurt because he was more of a solicitor.
Right, well there you go. So if he's more of a solicitor, we've gone and replaced a goal scorer in Dominic Solanke with an assister.
Yes,
right?
but that balances out with what Maddison and Kulu brought to the team.
Right, but they brought goals and assists, right? They all did. Do you actually know the statistics for what they actually?
No, I'm not saying they didn't, but he had the top. He's got the top goal scorer from last year in his team, and he doesn't play him.
Yeah, because we all know Brett. We all know he's a.
But okay, but he's got a
It doesn't
17
matter.
goal
It doesn't matter
scorer.
if
He
it's
don't
shit
play
or
him.
not. That doesn't matter.
You're saying about replacing stats. He's replaced the biggest one.
No, but I'm talking. It's not just about the stats, right? We're talking about the player's quality. Let's compare Xavi Simons and Maddison, right? Xavi Simons right now.
People
right,
on Maddison's back tons last season.
And Maddison had one of his most productive seasons on record in the Premier League, right? So that's the funniest thing about it. People don't want to look at the context. Right, and that's what really annoys me.
Here's some context.
They say opinions, but they don't want to back it up with the actual.
Danny, here's some context. Over the past 10 games, we're 17th in the league for form.
Yeah.
We've won 1 in 8. If we don't win on the weekend, we've won 1 in 9. We're coming into January, and we are looking at the very real possibility that our entire season will be over by the end of January.
Yeah.
All right. If we don't win one of the next 3 league games and we get knocked out of the FA Cup, how long do you think the club are realistically going to give this man?
I don't care. Ferg, honestly, mate, I don't care, because until I see change at the board, because people, do you know what? People forget how much has actually changed at Spurs, right? People forget that Daniel Levy is gone. Christian, you as well as me, we've always wanted Daniel Levy gone, right? So when we say Daniel Levy's gone, they've got let's just call it the Lewis family. They're there now, right? You've got Charrington, who's not even a football guy. You've got Vinay, who's there now, and you've got this new guy coming in from City. Paratici looks like he's off. So now we fucked up our recruitment. Now we've got fucking Super Johan Lange as our fucking recruiter, right? So it's now a complete mess at this football club, and we expect to have any manager come into this football club and try and sort it in a space of 4 months.
No one's expecting to sort it at all.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying, right? If Frank gets sacked, I couldn't give a shit. Honestly, I couldn't care. Christian, I said to you and a lot of people, and Ferg, even probably with you when we were in the spaces before, that when Conte got sacked, I sat there and said that I don't care who this manager is, who the next manager is, right? Until I see the club change their ambition by showing us for over multiple transfer windows that they're going to go and buy quality. The only thing and the only little bit of hope that I've got is that in the summer that just went, we still didn't get enough, but the players we were targeting were levels above what we usually go for.
No, of course, and that's why we have to give this board, right, at least the January window, because none of us could have sat here at the time of signing and be gruntled by the Kudos signing, especially the Xavi one. That had us off our seat.
I was happy with all of the signings, if I'm honest.
That's what I'm saying. So at this point, the blame has to come off them a little bit.
Pig in makeup.
Yeah.
I don't believe that this is a new dawn yet, because it's too convenient that the man's just gone. The rebranding of the Lewis family that owned the club for 25 years.
Exactly. And this is it, Ferg. This is why, like the reason I don't care if the manager goes or not. I just me personally, if they sack Frank, say before let's just say end of January, right, and we haven't won a game. That's what five games or so, 5 Premier League games, I think, until then. If we've lost every single one of those games and they sack him, right? Who realistically comes in at the end of January right now who's actually going to change the fortunes if we haven't actually signed any decent level player in January window?
It's that the thing is, I don't know if actually we can do it. Can you bring up our next 12 league games?
This is why
I'm going to have to jump off, man. Thank you for having me on.
They are horrific.
I'm going to jump off.
I've enjoyed conversations with every single one of you, man. I appreciate it.
But hey ho.
Nice one, man. Take care, yeah?
I'm going to wrap up in 5 minutes. But big up, George. Big up, Christian.
Big up. Nice, man. Take care.
Yeah, but if our next 12 league games are awful.
Yeah, it's bad. I can see maybe 3 wins in that, maybe three losses.
The problem there, Danny, is 3 wins. If we only get 3 wins in that, the chances are with the form of some of the lower teams, we're going to be sucked in again like last season. We could be 17th, we could be 18th.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is,
and then you have to act because you can't leave a guy in place. If like I'm saying, if he's got that level of defeats, like you've got to get rid of him. But who again is like this is why they pay these people the big bucks. But I don't trust Langer to bring the person.
If Lange is
chance.
if he's the only guy who's going to be our head of recruitment, director of football, whatever you call it, this January, and there's no Paratici, and we've clearly say by the end of January there's no visible plan of what they've actually done, right? For me, I honestly I don't care who the manager is. I think we're in deep trouble. I think we're in like relegation fight because.
But you can't like if he loses all those games, Danny. No one can say that they're going to have to act.
They will sack him, but they'll bring someone else in who maybe get like a manager bounce for a couple of games, and then we're going to go back to the same because
they'll have to.
Here's the thing.
I saw Aura, before you say anything, I saw a stat right that was showing the last 82 Premier League games for Spurs in the Premier League for Spurs. Right, they were 15th in the table.
Like, Brentford are 14th and Bournemouth are 7th.
Yeah, so it's like then you can argue right on that if Brentford were 14th. I know Brentford had different resources than us, but he was 14th based on form over the last 82 games. So is he really the right manager?
Remember,
for the job?
16 of them would have been for us, and 16 would have been for the guy that replaced him.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, it's like it's worrying in the sense of we could end up falling further and further down. I agree with that, and we all know what's going to happen. Eventually, you're going to get it's going to get Richarlison will save us. Yeah, we're going to get. Go on, Oren. Go on.
Yeah,
let us know it's Christmas time, Richarlison.
Go on, make this the last point, Oren. I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go to bed.
Well, the point is that no matter what happens, let's just have a good fucking Christmas. How about that? Let's talk about Frank, who's faulted it in the new year. Wait, is there a match before the new year?
Nah.
Palace 28.
Palace 28. So we'll have a defeat to talk about in the new year as well. So
you know what though, he has got 7. He did have 7 days to prepare for that game.
It doesn't.
Hopefully,
the point is, and we talked about this, and like I'm sure we'll do more during the summer. But like, I think that DK, no matter what manager comes in, I think players that they sign know that they can come to Spurs. Marlon, you touched on it last week. We don't always agree, so you know that you're right when we both agreed. They come to Spurs. Dembele, perfect example. Ndombele, he had all the talent.
Yeah.
Everyone thought he was great. But then he came to Spurs and thought, why bother? You know? The signings that Angie made, all those players came out and says we wanted to come to the club.
So in saying that, does that mean Xavi has got that same attitude that you're talking about?
I think Xavi will. I think Xavi has
came into at the moment. I'm talking about the moment because you're saying that whoever
Kudus definitely does.
Kudus does. No, Xavi's different. I give Xavi. Xavi shows his commitment and he makes that tackle. Whereas I don't. I think Kudus goes right at West Ham. He can get away with it. At Spurs, he can get away with it because he does a couple of fancy things.
Against Palace, does that still ring true?
What
you just said?
What?
That Kudus, like he
I think Kudus is probably one of our best players.
That's what I think as well, Danny.
No, I'm right.
No, but the last few games, what we're saying is, so when he came, his attitude was spot on. It was where it needed to be. But for the last month or so, you cannot sit there and tell me he's been one of our best players.
No, you can have a drop off in performance.
That's my point.
But that's
my point.
Because
wait, Danny, before you go, maybe we're starting to see some of his deficiencies.
That's my point.
We're starting to see, okay, he's not as good as we thought he was. That's all I am with.
Or the other thing is,
so money's not going to fix the problem then, because we're
the other thing
is players.
The other thing is that Spurs players.
That's got nothing to do with us. Money.
Well, yeah, it does because you said last week.
I said last week he should be the benchmark. I said he should.
But if you keep But if Xavi goes down the same route, and then all our other signings go down the same route, we're always going to be in the same cycle and the same problem.
No, if we're buying the quality, like I'm saying,
but we have bought quality in Kudos, and yet somehow, yes, you might be having drop it. You might be having a drop off.
I would like to,
but I think until we move away from this thing about just buying these random players the way we do, and we start actually having a real structure and buying players.
So what am I saying?
The style the club wants to have, and they stick to a style.
What am I saying?
Can I just say?
Am I saying like?
Marlon, you've got us going.
No, wait. I'm just saying, make it. Hold on.
Ash, get the Ash. Oh, you got the jerk chicken spices is coming up.
Can I just say two things, right? That you got. This is
why we're lasting this long anyway. Carry on.
Just two things on Kudus, right? Kudus, right? Firstly, last season at West Ham, he had 32 matches in the Premier League, 5 goals and 3 assists. This season, he's on 2 goals in 16 matches and 5 assists already. So he's already bettered his assists. So when you actually compare Kudus and from the season before that, Kudus right now is overperforming. If his trajectory continues, he's gonna smash his records.
What was the season after?
His first year at West Ham was brilliant.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. He had a drop off last year, but now if you look at his stats and you actually average it out based on 16 games, he's going to absolutely obliterate his stats from last year.
That's the point.
But we might not. He might not because if Frank's results keep carrying on, say we do stay with Frank and it's not his problem, and then like you said, the players are not good enough. That means Kudus' trajectory is not going to go up.
Yeah,
it's going to
of course.
Like
but
that
also, that's like the rest of the players, right?
Yeah.
But what I see from Kudus when I see him, I see a player that. Yes, he doesn't look up all the times, but I see a Tottenham team around him that just want to give him the ball because they know he's the best player in the squad.
Yeah,
right?
We're not saying
when
he's
do
not.
you know what?
But here's the thing. I'm not complaining. I understand what you're saying.
We're not saying Kudus is crap.
No. I know what you're saying. I know, but what I'm saying is that it reminds me of when Spurs players were shit, when Harry Kane and Son were just I've lost my thought. Harry Kane and Son were the ones who bailed us out, right? They used to bail us out for years. And we had so many shit players around the squad. And when them two weren't playing well, the team looked shit, right?
But
when what players used to do is because they know Harry Kane and Son were elite level players, they give them the ball and they just go and do their thing between them, right? It's like what the Spurs players are doing now. They know Kudus is the best player in the squad, so they give him the ball and expect him to work miracles. But
they don't. They expect him to do something, but he doesn't.
One-dimensional. But
again,
that's the issue.
If you watch,
we're too reliant on it.
Yeah, if you watch the match against Liverpool,
and
the match against Liverpool. Everything's Frank's fault. Fucking Spurs can get hit by a tornado, it'll be Frank's fault. But like, if you watch, I understand what you're saying, but like, here's what the commentator said: against Liverpool, Kudus always made the bad decisions. When he was meant to pass, he dribbled. When he was meant to dribble, he passed. He slowed things down, and that's what I am referring to. Is when he did exactly the same as Kulusevski. Remember Kulu? He would have great months. And then he would just go back to checking back or not making runs. So again, it's based on, I keep saying this, that I think it's based on decision making. Football,
is some of that also not being a left-footed player on the right and people like learn your quirks and make it difficult, so they shut those lanes down. And like it's harder to do it to Kudus because he's more able to go completely stop and then just go again. But with Kulu, they worked it out. They used to put a man on the inside and a man next to him, and then they just cut off that lane that he liked to run into. And they knew not to let him shoot because he's got that curved shot that he used to do with his left foot. And they would just close that down. But it's because we're predictable.
Well, I feel like at Spurs, we're a team of fans that like to kill our heroes or our top players.
He's not a hero. He's not even a top player. In truth, when Spurs, sorry, Ash, when Spurs bought Kudus, I was like, who? That's what I was like.
No.
I was. And then I thought, is that the player who got sent off against Spurs for like trying to headbutt Sarr, or is that the same player?
It's the same player, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'll be...
it was Van der Ven. You tried to fight Van der Ven, didn't you?
I'll be interested to see if we were to get like a half decent left winger where that kind of attracted
Bro,
some other players
they're
across
all
the
rejecting us, man.
which
Yeah.
no.
You know, we were
Us
talking
doing the
about
show.
which woman you wanted. Well, they don't want our woman. They don't want Tottenham
Listen,
anymore.
that's
Do you know
what
what I
a
mean?
woman-
They're all saying no.
Big back. Listen, all I'm saying is, wouldn't it be interesting if we had a player? And I'm not saying you're saying all the players, all the left wingers, they're taken, they're off the market. I'm looking at profiles. Wouldn't it be nice to get a profile winger that's slightly different to what Kudos is, meaning that he was good at combining, he was good at having his head up whilst dribbling. He was someone that could go wide, but also drift in, and then also take the pressure off Kudos because now we're no longer building down the right. That's all I'm trying to get at. Like, in terms
because
of,
you know what will happen.
we're not really.
If that happened, then you'll have.
I think we need a left-footed crosser, and like it doesn't have to be the winger; it could be the fullback. But we need someone who can deliver a killer ball from the left-hand side, and we haven't had that profile since Perisic, who got the bad injury.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Spurs don't have. That's another reason. Spurs don't actually have a crosser of the ball on the right hand, on the left hand side.
Yeah, that's why I think
because Odegaard doesn't do it. Again, this isn't the point. Some Spurs fans are going, Odegaard is great, and I'm along with Marlon. I'm like, what has he actually done?
Ben and Sim think they are world-class players.
He always cuts in. He always takes shots. His decision making is rubbish. He gets bunts off the ball. Like, right, that's the level. What's happened?
No, but I think that's the case now. I think that's the level that most of us are at. Look, there's bits of everything. I suppose Frank's probably there to blame. The players are to blame. People at the club are to blame, and we're to blame as fans. I think we're all.
Well, there's one person who's not to blame anymore. Marlon, care to name that person?
Oh no, he's still to blame. His cloud hasn't left Spurs yet.
His fingerprints are
he was here till September.
Can I ask this question? How on earth is Ben Davies still at this club? How?
Ben is a soldier.
He's the only man who got a contract that long because he was busy mates with Son. Do you know what I mean? Keep him company.
The fact he outlasted Levy, I'm willing to give him a statue.
Outlasted Kane, Levy, outlasted Son.
Managers, everything. He's the last man standing. But Spurs need a rebuild.
That's why, Oren, I blame fans like Ben and Sim because they think that they think we are better than where we are actually as a squad, right?
Daddy's opinions are not the same as Spurs Kings TV. Okay, just to let Ben and Sim know, me and Ash still
need a little disclaimer down the bottom.
The thing is, these players can be, but it's how much. And again, like, I think Marlon and Ash were going to talk about this, about the mentality of modern day football players, because across the board, you don't really name these players who you could look at and go in the Premiership. You can go, they can be future Ballon d'Or winners because of their commitment,
leaders
because of their drive.
There's a dearth of leaders in this era. Of football.
There isn't the players. There isn't, like, if you look at Ronaldo, we're talking about this. I'm not comparing him. What made Ronaldo good, what made Messi good was that they practiced, they drove, they wanted to be the best. After training, they would spend. Harry Kane improved this game because after training, very rarely do you see players now staying after training. There is no players who go, I want to be the best. They're happy with their Instagram.
To be fair, we don't know really who's the first. Who's the first at the training ground? I think
we never hear a story about that, do we? We never hear, like.
You know what Madison said? If you watch the doc,
when watching this documentary,
he said, "Raw, Specs was the first man in the training room." I don't know if he was.
Yes, joking. I remember seeing that one. He was in the gym rooms. Yeah.
I don't know
if you look at Spence, he's improved.
But he's like, Spence, you're the first one. Like, I don't know. Does that mean
Spence has improved? Like he went for a little dips a little bit, but he's got better. Because I think he's playing a position.
He's had some really good games the last few. I thought he had a bit of a wobble after he played well for England.
I think Thomas Tuchel's
come back up.
I think
so.
Yeah, you don't give me what you've been giving me Spurs for the last month and expect to make England, and he's kind of gone,
Yep.
So
you're not giving that to Frank? That's nothing to do with Frank. Actually, wait. So wait, hold on. Obviously, Frank's got beef with Spence, technically.
Yeah, you can tell there's something not. That Forest photo that you showed last week.
Huh?
That Forest photo you showed last week where Frank's Spencer said, doing what?
These Tottenham players, Marlon, have beef with every manager because they're a bunch of prima donnas. That's it. Like they're just overpaid wankers, basically.
You know, there's one of them who's a thread. Ben Davies has been there for all of the managers.
He's the problem.
The fact that Spurs have like this thing like leadership groups within the dressing room. I'm sorry, but what the fuck are you in kindergarten or something? Like you need to hold your hand.
But most clubs have them.
You know,
it's not Spurs.
Yeah, again,
it's a new thing, but
it's modern day football. Unfortunately,
a bunch of pansies playing football. Like this is what I'm saying. Like these players are so they're treated pampered. Yeah, they're treated like celebrities. It's ridiculous. And this is what, and we wonder why.
But Man United had this because they. I remember.
Look at Man United.
Yeah, no, I mean before, like with Roy Keane and them lot, because I remember Gary Neville saying Roy Keane come out and said he hated being the leadership. He hated doing all that off the field stuff. He was the club captain on the pitch, but he used to leave it to Gary Neville, and I can't remember who the other player was because he hated all the off the pitch stuff. But they've always had this. I don't know why it's become highlighted in modern day football these days.
It's just the cringe way that they like introduce it. Oh, here's our new leadership.
But it's always been there. It's just that we've never heard about it until now, and it's probably just because of the way.
The funniest thing is as well, Marlon, that we have Vicario, who's in the leadership team, who literally, whenever he makes a mistake, just blames everyone else.
That's
what a leader. What a guy.
Every time. Yeah. It's always Bergvall.
That's the point. That's the point.
When the show goes left, I always blame Match.
He just like.
It's like the debate we were having in the We Are Tottenham TV group chat, right? It's like the argument about, is an individual mistake, is it someone else's fault, or is it the actual person who made the mistake's fault? So
it's fault.
Yeah, thanks. This is what I'm saying, right? So I used an example that if your manager at work is telling you to do something, right, and then you don't listen to him, and then you actually make the mistake again and again, and you keep making mistakes, right? Whose fault is it? The manager's fault? The manager's fault for keeping you and not firing you, or is it the person's fault, right?
So,
for actually
Danny,
making the mistake?
On that one though, if the mistake's not happening by one person, it's happening by everyone in the team now, and it's starting to catch on. And it's under the one manager. Is it then becoming the manager's problem because everyone in these teams making his mistake now?
I think it's just the players who are just not as good as people.
Forget football for a second. This is going back to work. I'm used to, because if it's just one individual, you go, all right, fine, it's that one person. But when you're looking at it now and it's like Orion's making a mistake, Danny's making a mistake, and the room's starting to make mistakes on a weekly basis, and it's all at different times, and I'm managing this team of people, have I got to start looking at it as a manager and go, maybe it's something that I'm doing or telling them that to the reason why these individual mistakes keep cropping up between more than one person.
Right, but then you could have the argument then, right, that why is it these players can't follow simple instructions and they're the ones that keep making the mistakes?
So have I got to replace my whole team then?
Here's a very interesting
point. Marlon,
that's the thing that's impossible.
Did he listen to the Mickey Van der Ven?
Yeah, but
do you know what? I admit the Mickey Van der Ven thing I have not listened to yet because I've watched everyone else.
I didn't listen to it, but I've heard highlights and I read the article about what he said between Ange and Frank about Ange was very attacking and about how it was easy because
he said he still believes in it.
Yeah, believes in it, and Frank is more technical and goes through walkthroughs before the game.
We're coming down to aura now.
Ange had the aura.
Yeah,
he said Ange's words made him believe he could do anything or something along those lines.
That's what he said.
Like, the thing is, right? I'm the type of person, right, that holds. I hold myself account to if I make a mistake in something. Right?
We all do. Yeah.
I don't blame other people if I make a mistake. Right? If I make a mistake in life or in whatever it is, I don't say, "Oh, do you know what, Marlon? It's your fault. Ash, fuck you, man. It's your fault that I made a mistake."
No, you blame We Are Tottenham TV,
man. Yeah, it's what I mean. So it's like how can a play like I'm thinking of the mistake, Romero's mistake. Are we gonna sit here and say that the manager's fault to Romero making a lazy pass because he wasn't concentrating and he was seeing red that whole game? Is that Frank's fault?
But that's the thing.
What about Pape Matar when he fucked up twice this season? Once in the Champions League, once in the Premier League, where he completely fucked up, and both his errors in the Champions League and in the league led to goals, right? Is that Frank's fault or is that the players'
fault?
It
depends. So it all depends on, for me, and I get what you're saying. And like Romero's one on Saturday, that I'll never blame that on Frank, because he tries to play it with his wrong foot. It was just a bad decision to be making, and we had 10 men at the time.
Lazy.
But when you start looking at how many mistakes we're making this season as individual players, because Sar's not the only one. Archie Gray, Vicario, there's been so many individual mistakes that we've conceded from.
But how?
This is where I'm starting to look at.
How can we blame Frank for Archie Gray not taking a touch, too many touches in a dangerous position? How can we blame the manager for the player making a bad decision?
Because in that situation, for me, and I know what Oren's going to say, that these players should think for themselves, but they've been asked to play a certain way, and they are drilled to play a certain way. But why would Vicario in that situation, for me, and go look at and go, I'm going to play it to Archie Gray, who's got a man behind him. I don't think there was any other option at the time, and it's Archie Gray. And Vicario goes and lays in this pass. Is he thinking in his head, I've got to play this way because this is the way the manager wants me, or can he think for himself and go, I've got to do it? He should be able to.
He's a grown man.
But none of these players in modern football, like most teams, and this goes for, and I said this earlier with Man City, I don't know if you heard, Pep tells them everything that they have to do. Look at Jack Grealish is probably the prime example. If Jack Grealish went against anything he said and fought for himself, he didn't play for months.
I know, but there's a difference when you've got world-class players in your squad and you're telling him what to do because he's proven to win things if you listen to what he's saying. And there's a difference when you've got dog shit players and you've got an average manager who's not been proven at this level when you're competing for multiple competitions.
I get it.
Playing 2 games a week. It's a very different scenario. Like, I know what you're trying. I know exactly what you're saying, and I understand it completely. It's just, for me, I cannot sit there and blame the manager for players making individual mistakes when I've seen this at this club for many years. And the amount of times we used to see Eric Dyer making individual mistakes, Ben Davies making individual mistakes. It was like non-stop, right? Vicario this season, he's done the same thing like 3 or 4 times now that's led to errors leading to goals. It's like there's got to be a point where, like Van de Ven said, and let's go back to Sim's best manager, Ange Postecoglou, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly. When Van de Ven himself said that me and Romero had to tell the manager that we have to stop going gung-ho because we're too open and we need to shut up shop. How can the players be telling the manager that, and then everyone wants to take Ange as the guy that somehow managed to win us that Europa League, right? I can tell you the things that I've seen from the player liaison officer, who's the guy that actually the shit that was on his phone. Mate, these players, right, were not like what Ange was doing in those games, and they were really telling him what they wanted to do because they didn't believe in. They say they believed in his. It's a load of shit when they say, "Oh, we believed in the Ange way." That's a load of bollocks. They didn't. Fucking didn't.
Like I said,
it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. This club is rotten to the core, man.
It's not the club. It's a football. Yeah. Like I said, it's a football, and it's a mentality of football players that they can hide. You can't abuse them anymore. You can't even get to give them like emojis. And they know that eventually they keep, if the Spurs players went whatever and lose the next 3 games, they're still going to get their wages. They're still going to get, whatever they get. They don't really care. They can just make how many times sorry, we'll do better next time. Not the result we expected. We'll do better next time. Because they know that the manager's going to get sacked.
An apology a week at the moment, boys. That's the problem.
Yeah, the manager's going to get sacked. And then a new manager comes in, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, well, we wish we could have played better for Frank." Blah blah blah. Then it'll happen again.
100%. You know what, Oren? I'm gonna get my popcorn out when that happens.
Yeah,
I want to see how Ben and Sim react.
They're gonna have nice Instagram messages when he goes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Manager, thank you for everything.
And Van de Ven believed.
Yeah, Ben towing the line.
Yeah. Van de Ven believed in the system, but Mickey Van de Ven was out for most of that system, and the reason why he pulled his hamstring twice was because of that system. So it's like, yes, I think a lot of players like to play attacking football, but like what I said, I think let down Angie the most was that he went to a couple of players and went, "I trust you," and then he went, "Ah, fuck, shouldn't have done that." Like Spurs need a player that can break the lines. Positional was that player. He's taking helium balloons. You know what I mean? That's just the mentality.
And he's
of
late
it
for
all.
training all the time.
Yeah. And Dembele, nah, can't be bothered. Don't care. Jose Mourinho met him to take him out for fitness training. Right?
COVID protocol.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Galatasaray, the manager said they told him not to eat hamburgers. And Dembele was in his hotel room eating hamburgers. He just doesn't give a fly.
He was a unit when he played over there. He got big.
So I think we're moving into this new era, and even Pep has realized that you've got players who are sensitive, easily triggered. If you shout at them, they'll bring out a mental illness or abuse video talking about their childhood or whatever, and you're like, oh, forgive them. We applaud players for playing rubbish, and then when they play rubbish, we criticize the manager.
Zlatan proper hates Pep.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah.
Zlatan proper hates him.
And he told why. He said why.
Yeah.
He said why. But he says, but if you look at Zlatan, like if Spurs had at least 4 players like him, holy fuck,
he'd bat out all our team and just beat them out.
That's a mentality, though. That's a mentality.
He just go around smacking everyone.
We need someone like that.
Yeah, Spurs need to look at players, I think, in the future who will play the game and work hard. It's not about kissing the badge or posting an Instagram story or whatever. Just, yeah.
My last comment: I just hope they sell Brennan Johnson in the January window. That'd be amazing.
Your bingo card for 2025, Chris Armstrong's already said he's gone.
If he see, tell you what, see this one. I hold you that, DK, because whoever buys him will probably play him at 9, and he will just start scoring goals after goals after goals.
I don't think so.
I think he will. He has the movement, and Solanke's out injured for another. I think so they might keep him.
3 years he'll be out for.
Whose fault is it that he's not playing? Whose fault is it that Brennan Johnson's not playing?
Himself.
Because for some reason
Brennan's going to relegate us on the last day of the season.
Yeah. Oh, that would be.
Can you imagine?
Brennan is good when you play in a certain system, right? He's good at goal scoring, but everything else, the amount of times I've heard everyone, even on this panel, like Ash and Marlon say, when he's playing, it's like we're playing with 10 men because he offers nothing. He offers absolutely
nothing. But there's another guy who plays for us who's a lot like that a lot of the time.
Anything. And what he does offer is something that Spurs are seriously lacking.
If we dive into the actual statistics, I think it was last season. I think it was only three goals in the goals he scored in the Premier League were actually contributed to us getting points. All the rest of the games that he scored in were draws or losses. So it didn't even make a difference.
But he's a goal scorer. He's not a defender.
Goals are goals.
It doesn't make a difference if we draw.
It doesn't make. Yeah, if he can score 3 goals, but if the defense can't keep out. And like the weird thing is, last season Angie had a makeshift defense. This season Frank has a makeshift attack, and we're seeing the difference. And yes, there are conceding goals, but like.
I think the only way he goes back to what we were doing at the beginning of the season is playing Benton Kompally in the middle. That's the only way. And fans won't like it because it'll be still boring, but I think we've got to play.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
The only way I think Spurs can play right now is counter-attacking. It's the only thing that's going to work.
Danny, we can't keep losing, so he's got to do.
That's why I'm saying they have to play He has to change it to counter-attacking style because I think that's the only.
It's hard to do that when we play against the lower teams that want a low block. So he's in a catch-22. Just have the ball.
I mean, we lose control of the ball more than anyone else, so we might as well just keep the ball.
Yeah,
it'd be like that Simpsons episode where they're playing football and it's Mexico versus Brazil and they're just passing the ball between each other.
No, you have it.
Yeah. On that note,
we have to finish. We have to finish.
We have to finish. This is longer than we should have.
Yep,
it's my bad.
That's because I didn't leave it.
You didn't leave, and then Ash gave Danny the link. That carried on another hour.
Yeah.
But on that note, thanks guys for coming on.
No worries.
Brilliant as always. We'll be back. Are you doing Wednesday, Ash?
Christmas Eve. I'm not too sure yet.
Okay. I haven't put anything in, but we'll see. Let me know if he's back Wednesday. But yeah, please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Please make sure you follow DK, Oren, and Ferg on X if you want to hear them ranting. Well, not Oren.
I don't really use Twitter anymore, to be honest. Or X.
He's sensitive. He'll get emotional.
Or not. We'll catch them back on here.
Yes, only here. The safe haven.
Thanks to everyone who's been in the chat as well. Again tonight, you've made it at the show as it is. That's why we've gone for longer. But as always, Ash, any final words? Speak.
Big up George for coming on. Big up Christian for coming on. Them like one did their thing. I like it, man. And obviously you three as well, as always, holding up the show as well, man. I'm just here to listen and sit back and give you like the platform, really. But yeah, man. Merry Christmas as well. Peace and greetings for those who celebrate as well.
And big up to my Delulu brothers, Ben and Sim.
As always, come on, Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Guys.
Right, bye.
What he said.
Bye.